The intro gives us a wide shot of a human camp set up on a massive green plain, setting the vibe for this brand new world. Right then, a short goblin quietly drops in from way up high, gripping his dagger and totally ready to throw down. He lands super chill among a bunch of dudes who are already knocked out, showing that a crazy brawl just went down. Right after, near the entrance of a rock cave, voices are telling a girl to pipe down before they decide to get rough with her. Hearing the commotion, the little guy turns his attention to the dark hallway, focusing hard on what's happening inside. He stays completely silent for a few seconds, looking like he's cooking up a serious strategy to deal with these NPCs. Then, he acts super confident, signaling that he's already got a game plan to take these guys on. Inside the cave, a girl named Jung Haeyeon is tied to a wooden post, looking completely spooked and clueless. One of the thugs grabs her ID and reads her name and soul address out loud, finding her hometown pretty amusing. The gang of goons standing around starts joking that the girl lived in a fancy neighborhood, finding her background hilarious. One of the dudes steps up, asking if she's chilled out yet, demanding she pay close attention to what they're about to say, shoving the ID right in her face. He says he gets why she's freaking out, since she had a normal life and suddenly spawned in this weird world. A second guy in the back laughs at the whole situation, joking that they basically just dropped into an isekai anime full of elves and orcs. The thug keeps talking, bragging that their crew got here first and leveled up, sarcastically claiming their job is to carry the noobs. Turning up the tension, one of the guys drags over another dude who's also tied up, warning her that she's gonna need their help and asking if she wants to know why. Yanking the already beat up guy's hair, the thug threatens that if she doesn't play along, she'll end up looking just as messed up as her boyfriend. Seeing that awful sight, the girl lets out an uncontrollable scream, totally panicking from the intimidation. The psychological hit is so heavy that she can't handle the stress and instantly passes out, dropping her head from pure exhaustion. The thug gets annoyed and complains that her system crashed again, while his buddy mutters they should have been stricter from the start. But one of the crew members tells them not to mess up the captive's face, since they finally caught a pretty one. He points out that the girl is the best looking newbie that's spawned lately, so they need to play it smart and not waste the drop. Hearing that, the guys decide the best move is to wake her up first, since carrying her to the main camp like that would be a huge drag. Out of nowhere, one of the hooded guys in the back says the scene is so gross he can barely even look at it. The other thugs think their buddy's random comment is super weird, not getting why he suddenly got so toxic. They try to get the attention of the big guy whose back is turned, asking if he lost his mind and demanding an explanation ASAP. But the only expression visible on the hooded guy's face is pure shock, followed by a super creepy silence. A second later, the guy drops to the floor offline, making it obvious he just took a critical hit from behind. The rest of the squad gets jump, scared by their buddy hitting the deck, yelling in panic without a clue about what just happened. Taking advantage of the team's freak out, a dagger comes flying and spinning through the air, thrown right at the thugs. They look up in pure terror, while the attacker's voice jokes that these scrubs seem to be having way too much fun at their base. The short goblin finally steps completely into the cave, offering in a menacing tone that they switch up the mini-game from now on. Raging because of the surprise raid, one of the thugs talks the creature and chucks a dagger at him with everything he's got. However, the invader's first strike had already landed a clean hit on one of the goons, who yelps in pain asking what kind of cheap shot that was. In the middle of the chaos, the tied-up girl reboots and wakes up exactly when the guys are screaming to eliminate the little monster. She wakes up totally stressed and witnesses the whole free-for-all, freezing up at how intense the scene is. Moving fast, two thugs rush in with their weapons, yelling to send the goblin back to the lobby right then and there. Keeping his crazy reflexes, the creature dodges smoothly and uses his blade to parry the first attack perfectly. The thug keeps pushing the offense and goes for a side slash, but the little guy steps the blade like it's nothing. Mad that his aim is trash, the guy raises his sword and gets ready to deliver a heavy top-down strike. Exploiting a huge open in his opponent's defense, the little guy counters instantly, swinging his weapon with terrifying speed. A red streak slices through the air at the exact moment the attack lands a precision hit on the enemy, wrapping up that fight. The strike is so clean that the thug lets out a yell and drops to his knees, getting completely taken out of the match. Acting quickly, the invader finishes the job fast with a frontal strike, making sure his opponent doesn't get back up to third-party them. Watching his teammate get clapped so easily, the last standing goon freezes in panic and totally drops his guard. The girl keeps watching every move of the fight, completely stunned and struggling to believe the crazy stats of the guy saving her. The goblin turns to the leftover thug with a menacing aura, taunting the guy by asking if they were done playing around. Totally overwhelmed by fear, the thug starts swinging his sword like a button masher, demanding the green creature stay back. He screams in desperation for the monster to keep its distance, swinging randomly at the air in a totally failed attempt to guard himself. But the invader doesn't care about his panic at all, pulling off a smooth jump right over the clumsy swings and going for the attack. The aerial strike hits the guy so hard he literally coughs, feeling the massive damage on his own HP. The little monster lands softly on the target's back, while the thug stumbles forward, completely losing his balance. Unable to stay on his feet, the guy face plants into the dirt, getting totally outplayed by the massive skill gap. Tied to the wooden post, the girl is breathing heavy, absolutely terrified after watching how efficiently the thugs got wiped out one by one. The defeated guy crawls backward begging for mercy, trying to use the fact that he heard him speak the human language to build some kind of connection. Scared for his life, he tries to strike a deal by calling the goblin a good guy, and even offers him food to try and chill the vibes. Completely ignoring the begging, the creature just raises his blade, while the goon screams, pleading and asking what he wants in exchange. Acting with zero chill and absolutely no regrets, the savior brings the blade down fast, ending the chat and any negotiations right there. The last enemy's body drops offline on the dark floor, proving that the faction that was griefing the newbies is officially disbanded. Burned out from the speedrun combat, the winner sits back on top of the defeated enemy and lets out a sigh, mentioning the fight drained his stamina. Suddenly, he notices something and looks back a bit confused, giving off the vibe that he totally forgot a key detail. The girl is still tied to the cave post, shaking with fear after getting front row seats to the short warrior's relentless power. The fighter starts walking slowly towards her, muttering that he just remembered the captive was still in the room. He stops right in front of the defenseless girl, creating a super tense vibe for someone who has no clue what's gonna happen to her. Flashing his fangs with a smile, he jokes that the girl is still hanging out in the exact same spot waiting. A little later, now untied and kneeling on the floor looking super humble, the girl gathers her courage and asks if she can talk to the creature. Still trying to process the whole server and looking for a clue, she flat out asks if he happens to be Korean too. The green creature looks back with peak sarcasm, asking if he looks like he has any human traits for her to guess that. Getting super emotional and tearing up, the girl doubles down, saying he understands the local language, recognized her ID, and was the only one who defended her from the thugs. But the monster cuts her crying off by wiping his weapon, telling her to drop the nonsense because he didn't make a move just to save her. Panicking with her hand over her heart, she cries and begs him to explain things, since she's completely lost in this place. Keeping his usual ice-cold posture, he points out she should have paid more attention to what the thugs were saying a few minutes ago. He gives it to her straight. Everyone was living a normal life until they randomly got dropped into this messed-up universe. And the whole situation is a nightmare. The girl takes a deep breath, repeating the parallel universe concept, clearly mentally drained, and asks him to say something that actually makes sense. The fighter gives a low-key smile, finding it funny how huge her denial is about accepting the brutal new reality they spawned into. Looking at the confused girl, he tells her she should have figured out the truth by now, leaving her even more lost. The girl asks what he's getting at, questioning if he can see some sort of quest panel or something. Her eyes go wide in total shock as she starts putting together the pieces of this completely illogical, no-escape scenario. Right then, a glowing system screen pops up exactly in front of her, making her ask, totally full of questions, what in the world that is. The fighter notices she can see the UI too, suggesting she just follows the quest prompts and tries to adapt so she can grab the rewards. Turning around to head out, he warns the girl to take her own path and grind for her own survival solo. But the captive panics and grabs his leg crying, begging for more details because she still doesn't understand what's going on. Annoyed by how stubborn she is, the creature turns his face, showing a super threatening vibe with zero patience left. Moving super fast, he aggressively yanks the girl's clothes, making her let out a terrified scream. Putting his blade right up to her face, he applies massive pressure to let her know he's totally out of chill. He calls her out for being naive and claims to be the most dangerous boss in the area, asking what else she expects him to do, swearing to eliminate any human that crosses his path. He points out he only let her slide on a random whim. Crying her eyes out, the girl asks why he's acting this way, since he clearly has the skills to carry people who are lost. Hearing that question hits the little fighter right in the feels, leaving him paralyzed and shook by the word, "Why?" The view swaps to a dark flashback on a rainy battlefield, where a guy is crying because things went totally sideways for a girl. The dude is shedding tears of pure despair, hugging the fallen girl in the middle of the storm, begging for some kind of backup. The girl he's holding is completely unresponsive and injured, showing just how tragic and painful that raid really was. Heavy footsteps splash in the puddles as someone in armor walks straight toward the defeated couple. The guy looks up in agony and calls out to the figure using the title Holy Sword. The warrior stops right in front of the broken guy, setting up a super suspenseful vibe under the heavy rain pouring on them. That's Hayuri, the fighter who led the squad and was now looking at them with zero cares given. Deeply emotionally scared, he reminds her that she promised to help everyone survive in this parallel world full of aggro mobs. He gets totally overwhelmed by disappointment and screams, demanding to know why she didn't do anything when she easily had the stats to save them. Raising her sword, the warrior says sorry and claims the objective was completed, calling the whole thing a noble sacrifice. Right after, she declares he's going to catch a ban as a traitor for attacking his own team members. Furious, the guy explains that her soldiers took the girl's life even knowing she was pregnant, and he just tried to stop their cowardly move. Before he can even finish his point, he gets hit by a fast and ruthless attack from the commander. She simply tells the so-called deserter to shut up, showing zero pity for the fallen guy's tragedy. Dropped in the muddy dirt, he repeats her words in disbelief that all of this got written off as just a noble sacrifice and treason. The physical damage mixes with the outrage of realizing this entire setup was nothing but a huge, selfish illusion. Consumed by rage, the injured fighter curses those trashy humans and promises to haunt every single one of them until the end of time, wanting to wipe them all out with his own hands. The guy swears he'd trade anything to get his revenge. Snapping back to the present, the little monster stares down the scared girl after remembering all that traumatic lore. Letting go of her clothes, the fighter agrees to explain why he's being so aggro with her. He yells that he hates humanity with every ounce of his energy, feeling proud that he's not part of that species anymore. With a piercing look, he states that from this moment on, he's strictly a member of the Green Skin tribe. The dark memory of the Holy Sword talking about a completed mission and noble sacrifice comes back to haunt his thoughts. The unfair ban for treason keeps echoing like a critical wound that is absolutely unforgivable. The whole trauma of losing his girl, because of his own teammates, hits him again like a truck. He remembers the exact second he got brutally and cowardly silenced by the warrior whose whole job was to protect them. The memories show him slowly fading into the dark, logging off after that fatal hit. The lies about sacrifice kept echoing in his head while his HP hit zero. The ultimate grudge against how fake those people were fueled his desire to curse them all even on his last breath. The regret of not being able to take down those griefers took over his mind right before the game over. The darkness then turns into little bubbles slowly rising in a mystical lake. Breaking the surface, he wakes up in a completely different character model, letting out a wild roar in the middle of a lake during a storm. Coming out of the water breathing heavy, the respawned guy stares at his own green hands, not getting how he's still breathing. His first instinct is to frantically search for his girl, screaming her name in the middle of the night. Totally confused by his new avatar, he stands up in the lake trying to process where he just spawned. A massive glowing magic circle lights up under his feet in the water, proving he was brought there through a summoning. Annoyed by the weird scenario and having zero context, he mutters a curse word under his breath. Looking at his new claws, he asks himself what in the world is going on for him to end up with this skin. A mystical silhouette with horns pops up in the dark, speaking some unknown dialect and warning him that his human bloodline is gone. The newly spawned guy stares in shock at the elder shaman who just appeared right in front of him. The creature introduces himself as Morxel, the warrior's healer, rocking a super creepy skull mask. Putting his hand on the confused guy's forehead, the old man decides to give him an official title to add him to the clan. Chanting some ancient power words, he finally announces what the new member's gamertag will be from now on. The chosen title is Gorls, officially locking in the path for the guy who got betrayed in his past playthrough. He whispers the name, taking in the fact that he just became a major vessel for his new species. The timeline skips ahead and shows the crazy damage this fighter has been dealing, clearing enemies by hitting their weak spots like a pro. Seeing his flawless combat stats, a clanmate hypes up his ruthlessness against humans. At the wrecked base, the young warrior Meve orders the rest of the squad to wait outside. Super hyped, she says she's gonna pop into the cave to check how her teammate is handling the hostage. Back to the present, Gorls hears his crew pulling up and realizes he needs to speed things up. Turning his back, he tells the girl to make a run for it right now, before he changes his mind about letting her live. But the girl tries to stop him, begging to stick with him and swearing she'll follow whatever commands he gives. Thinking the whole thing is ridiculous, he asks if she seriously wants to tag along with a monster that literally just wiped out a whole squad in this room. Crying a ton, the girl argues he's not a demon, since regular humans tried to do horrible stuff to her, and he actually kept her safe. Totally helpless on the ground, she asks who else she could possibly trust, claiming the Green Warrior is her only option. Flicking the girl right on the forehead, the short creature scolds her, calling her a naive newbie. He explains that trusting randoms blindly is exactly why she keeps ending up in these hardcore situations. Turning his face sharply, he promises her there is absolutely nothing in this server she can actually trust. Trying to give her a waypoint, he mentions there are several survivor settlements scattered around the map. In those safe zones, the girl would definitely find factions way safer than him to ask for a carry. Reaching out, he hands a small dagger to the defenseless girl so she has a shot at defending herself. Gorls warns her in a dark tone that the time will come when she'll have to pay a steep price to stay alive, and it's better to be ready. Handing over the blade, the fighter suggests she keep it hidden well and use it smart if a similar aggro situation pops up later. He notes that even a strike to an unarmored spot can give her a window to counter the enemy. Turning his back on the hostage, he ends the chat with a hostile warning that if she talks to him again, he'll end her run himself. Even though she's terrified and crying non-stop, the girl finds the guts to apologize, just wanting to get the gamer tag of the guy who saved her before she leaves. Looking over his shoulder, he hears her ask if his name used to be Kim Taeseong, which he shuts down instantly. Turning around with max confidence, he officially introduces himself as Gorls, the great vessel of the tribe. Moving fast, the creature swaps focus to another task and starts unlocking a wooden loot crate nearby. Right then, a short archer named Meve spawns out of nowhere, asking if he seriously just let the human escape after swearing to wipe out their whole species. Gorls just looks back without breaking a sweat, noticing his clanmate return to the base. Salty about the situation, his teammate grumbles that the runaway took the fighter's blade, complaining that not even she had gotten a weapon drop like that yet. Crouched in front of the crate, he calmly explains that taking out such a weak human wouldn't drop any combat XP, and would just cause more lag. Catching his drift, Meve gets totally hyped and blushes, deciding her crush only wants to fight high-level bosses, while he's left totally confused about when he supposedly became her boyfriend. Super excited, the archer gets closer, asking if he's talking about that crazy OP divine sword from earlier, and just how high its stats are for him to want a 1v1 that bad. The vibe shifts hard, and the fighter turns around looking super tense, explaining he doesn't want to hunt her down just for a power flex. With eyes full of pure revenge, he states his only goal is to completely delete the people who hijacked his entire world. Faced with such a dark and heavy response, the sniper takes a step back, going quiet for a sec. The flashback of his old human avatar, crying in despair in the rain, pops back up, remembering they ruined the only reason he had to stay logged in and protect. Pointing at himself super ticked off, he adds that on top of it all, those scumbags also stole his own life back in the day. He paces around the room saying he has no clue why he respawned like this. But right now there is absolutely nothing stopping him from grinding. Terrified by her partner's rage, Meve ends up falling back, while he yells that he made a vow and would give anything to wipe out those griefers. The little sniper cowers in the dirt, feeling the heavy pressure of the aggro aura that just filled the cave. Out of control, fury totally takes over the fighter's face, promising to make them pay for every little glitch they put him through. All that rage shows up in an intimidating red glare, focused 100% on his absolute need for payback. The terror is so intense that tears start welling up in the little teammate's eyes, having never seen him this unhinged before. Stomping the ground super hard, he screams he's gonna make everyone suffer just as much, making the sniper let out a terrified yelp from the impact. Noticing her scared reaction, he drops the rage instantly and takes a step back, calling his teammate's name looking worried. Curled up on the floor, Meave admits she gets super scared when he tilts like that, which makes him apologize and swear he wasn't mad at her. Trying to change the subject, the fighter tells her to group up the squad and gather all the loot they can give the shaman, which she agrees to instantly like a total simp. Getting her usual energy back, the girl runs out of the cave screaming for the rest of the tribe to get inside and start grinding hard. A while later, Goral stands at the edge of a stone cliff, taking in the epic view of the map. The breeze hits his face as he looks at the massive green forest that stretches as far as the eye can see under a clear sky. Keeping it quiet, he looks down looking deep in thought, processing the latest patched notes of his life. Far away, the surviving woman is Speed, running through the middle of the dense forest in total panic, gripping the blade she got to try and stay alive. Back on the cliff, a glowing system UI randomly pops up right in front of the green fighter. The screen shows an elimination quest where he already racked up 29 kills, needing just one more human to rank up, which gets him thinking. Checking his own stats, he realizes his reflexes have already gotten way faster and stronger, and fighting will be even easier once he hits the next tier. His thoughts get interrupted by the hyped voice of the sniper, who pulls up right behind him. She reports that the squad managed to loot all the valuable items at the base and asks what the clan's next play is. The girl also warns that some enemies managed to avoid the last trap, so they'd definitely be respawning soon with backup. With a confident smirk on his face, the boss walks right past her heading to the camp, promising they'll turn this zone into a graveyard for the attackers. The sun is shining bright in the clear sky, showing time is passing while the tribe preps for the upcoming raid. Outside the cave, a bunch of noises of wood snapping and heavy stuff getting dragged keep echoing. The crew is grinding without a break, pushing crates and setting up barricades around the front door. Wiping the sweat off her face after all that grinding, Meave smiles, feeling good about the progress they're making on the defenses. Running around everywhere, she ends up tripping and apologizes to the boss, who tells her to pay attention to her tasks so she doesn't take fall damage. Right then, two more teammates pull up carrying a ton of weight, catching the boss's eye looking like they're in a rush. Super hyped, one of the workers reports that everything got crafted exactly according to the specs he gave them. The inside of the dark hallway reveals a massive wall of spiked stakes, showing all the defenses were set up flawlessly. Keeping it cool, Gorals gives props to the whole squad for their grind, but tries to clarify he's not their actual leader, which his teammate immediately denies. With mad respect, the little monster says he watched his gameplay taking on the humans and totally recognizes him as the clan commander. Turning around full of energy, he yells out asking if the rest of the team doesn't agree with that vote. Right away, a huge crowd of allies throws their hands up and cheers, screaming they also claim him as their new guild master. Taking advantage of the hype, the sniper grabs his arm, flashing a cheeky smile, confirming she accepts him too. But as her romantic partner, the party gets cut short when a scout sprints in, totally panicking, screaming that the hostiles are rushing down the path fast. Drawing his weapon with a sharp look, the newly crowned leader warns it's go time and orders everyone to camp as far away from the spot as possible. Turning his head to his partner nearby, he asks super casually if she's down to help him roll out the welcome mat. Pulling her bowstring with max confidence, Meave promises she's gonna spam every arrow she's got for her love. Happy with the answer, he flashes a creepy smile and declares it's time to start the real event. Far away, the raid group is walking together until one of the scouts calls the leader over to look at a puddle in the dirt, signaling the zone just got hit hard. The massive blonde dude running the squad stares at the wrecked ground, absolutely furious, struggling to believe one single little green mob caused all this lag. Running out of patience, he grabs his underling by the collar asking if this is a troll, while the young guy begs, saying he'd only believe it if he saw the gameplay himself. Shaking with fear, the scout tries to explain that the little creature totally popped off in the arena and ended up soloing everyone. With zero chill, the giant slams his own minion into the ground super hard, calling him a completely useless noob. The impact against the dirt kicks up dust, while the young guy curls up, having zero stamina to deal with his boss's toxic behavior. Ignoring the downed worker, the leader orders his right-hand man to push with the troops and capture the creature alive, wanting to see for himself if this crazy lore is legit. Getting the order, the squad leader marches with the whole battalion toward the cave door, stressing that the target needs to be bagged with its HP above zero. But the exact second he raises his hand to signal the push, a fast projectile zips through the air and headshots him instantly, cutting off his mic. The squad commander drops offline onto the ground in front of the stunned faces of the other thugs, marking the first sneak attack from the defense. Seeing his teammate go down, the blonde giant's eyes go wide, not understanding how a critical hit like that just spawned out of nowhere. Moving fast, one of the minions frantically points at the cave ceiling, warning the boss that the sniper shot came from right up there. Camping tactically in the shadows, the short sniper pulls her bowstring again, ready to keep spamming attacks. With literal aimbot, she lets an arrow fly that totally beams another clueless invader right in the chest in the middle of the group. The guy yells in pain as he drops in the middle of the path, creating a vibe of pure terror and confusion among his teammates who have no clue how to block. Flashing a toxic smirk, Meve looks at the wipeout she just caused, finding the low stats of those dumb guys hilarious. Playing her role in the strat perfectly, she turns around and sprints fast into the safe zone inside the dark tunnel. Totally tilted by the instant knockouts, the blonde leader yells, demanding the guys actually do something instead of just spectating, ordering them to rush the cave and catch the mob alive ASAP. Following the giant's ping, the raid team aggroes super hard with their weapons out, screaming as they breach the hideout's door. Escaping through the dark corridor, the sniper dashes at max speed while checking her 6 over her shoulder. Trying to create a bigger gap, she pulls off a sick jump over the obstacles on the path, looking super cracked at movement. The girl sticks the landing smoothly on the dirt floor and keeps her sprint towards the back of the tunnel without dropping any speed. Right behind her, the thugs keep chasing the intruder, screaming to lock her up fast, calling the green guys trash. The human faction pushes deeper and deeper into the unlit cave, walking right into the perfectly laid trap. Reaching the camp, Meve sprints up to the boss and reports, totally out of breath, that the hostiles are already breaching the zone. Glad the bait worked, Gorls praises his partner's top-tier gameplay and orders her to exit through the back door right now. Meanwhile, the squad of thugs keeps pushing blind through the narrow mountain corridors. Walking right behind his goons, the blonde leader complains that getting sneak attacked by a basic goblin is insanely embarrassing. Tilted by the whole situation, he waves his sword pointing up while crying about the humiliation, while his minions run ahead. Right then, a hidden tripwire on the ground starts sparking up fast, lighting up the dark. Spotting the random glow near the dirt, the giant turns his head, completely confused. When he notices a sketchy barricade, he asks super arrogantly if that idiot seriously thought this would work as a wall. Checking out the trap with a huge ego, the commander admits the little mob has some tricks up its sleeve, and honestly seems to have a higher IQ than his own guys. But looking a little closer, the boss's eyes go wide when he spots something terrifying. He notices a massive pile of dark powder scattered near the rocks around the barricade. Reading the warning sign tossed on the ground, the guy finally realizes they are dealing with explosives. Clueless about the danger, one of the goons calls the boss, pointing ahead, telling him to look at something himself. Overcome by total panic, the giant screams at the top of his lungs, ordering everyone to fall back from the zone immediately. The minion looks back, totally lost, having zero reaction time to process why his boss is freaking out. In the blink of an eye, a massive detonation nukes the hallway, deleting the goon in an absolute fireball. The blast hits the squad leader next, melting everything in its path with crazy ow damage. The raging flames burst out of the cave door, turning the old base into a literal death trap. The force of the explosion launches one of the surviving thugs super far, flying through the air screaming in pain. Dropped on the grass outside, the young guy coughs a ton from the smoke and trashes the little monster with pure hate. A wide shot shows the rocky mountain completely leveled, proving the ambush was a flawless victory. Watching the scene from a safe spot, Meave stares at the view, totally shook by how huge the explosion was. Turning to the boss, the short sniper notices something weird and asks nervously if he's doing okay. The green fighter ends up covered in a crazy bright blue magic aura, leaving his teammate absolutely stunned. The magic energy surges through Gorl's entire body super intensely, locking in his official class upgrade to warrior after finishing his elimination quest. Clearing the UI glow, he shows off his updated character model, looking way taller, buffed, and just straight up epic now. Taking a deep breath after the evolution, the newly promoted warrior flashes his sharp fangs while adjusting to his buffed stats. Flashing a confident smirk, he mentions he's feeling brand new sensations, finally getting what it's like to actually scale in power. Close by, the injured thug who got launched outside gets violently dragged by his foot, screaming in agony on the dirt. Down on the ground, the young guy flames his own teammates, calling them dumb, reminding them he called out that this wasn't a standard mob. Hearing heavy footsteps stumping on the rocks, the survivor turns his head, terrified, to check who's pulling up. Spawning through the fog, the new green boss looks down at the human like he's trash and jokes about how his defense stats are basically insect tier. Gripping his blade tight, the green giant gets ready to interrogate the final victim left on the map. With zero mercy, he lands a quick strike on the downed invader, who lets out a high-pitched scream of pain. Putting the weapon right up to the terrified guy's face, Gorls creates a super intense vibe to force him to leak info. Showing an intimidating smile, he warns that if the hostage wants to keep playing, he'd better answer all the questions without capping. Doubling down on the threat, the fighter promises that any fake news will result in the human becoming the squad's dinner tonight. The scene swaps over to a tall wooden watchtower in the middle of the plain, marking the spawn point for the summoned humans. Looking at the massive human village surrounded by walls, Gorls mentions the zone hasn't received a single map update even after 10 years. Noticing the boss spacing out, Meave asks if there's a glitch, but he reassures her the setup just made their next play way easier. Walking through the bushes with the rest of the crew, the big guy says they gotta go back first and drop the progress report to the shaman. Super hyped, the little sniper agrees to grind for new gear so the squad can jump back into the queue with max stats. Suddenly, the tied-up hostage breaks the silence and asks if the boss couldn't just release him already. Flashing a nervous smile, the human tries to barter, claiming he already pinged the base on the scroll and did his part of the quest. Giving the young guy an ice-cold look, Gorls agrees not to eliminate him, since a promise is a promise. The thug's face instantly fills with relief, asking in total disbelief if the fighter was actually being for real. Thinking he just dodged a ban, the coward walks through the middle of the team, telling them to move out the way, since their boss gave him a free pass. Turning his back to the clan, he mumbles under his breath, sarcastically calling the monsters absolute scumbags. But one of the members jumps quickly behind the human, gripping his blade with a toxic smile. Without lagging, the short creature lands a critical backstab on the clueless guy. The thug lets out an ear-piercing scream of pain, feeling the surprise attack go right through his hitbox. His stamina hitting zero instantly, he plants into the grass, trying to hold himself up with his hands. Taking advantage of the window, the rest of the crew rushes in with no mercy and jumps the downed hostage all at once, fully deleting the human's account. Checking the scroll calmly, the green boss laughs at the situation, arguing that he swore to let him live, but couldn't say the same for his teammates. The cowardly guy's body gets left behind face down in the mud, taking the ultimate penalty for trying to raid someone else's server. Back at the camp, the elder shaman Morxel asks if the newly leveled fighter seriously wants gear and units to raid a human base. Kneeling respectfully, Gorls explains he already tagged the exact coordinates, the size of the base, and the terrain around it. Super focused, he argues the squad has a crazy high win rate if they launch a surprise attack literally right now. Sitting in his spot in the dark cave, the old man just mumbles quietly, analyzing the members' high-risk strat. Suddenly, a deep voice echoes through the room demanding the boss absolutely decline that troll request. Getting his mic cut off in the meeting, the MC looks over his shoulder, visibly annoyed by the interruption. The one complaining is Goff, a massive hobgoblin, who asks angrily if they shouldn't be prepping for the Grand Leader's summons instead. The giant argues the travel time is going to be huge, so the team needs to start hoarding all their resources immediately. Rubbing his chin thinking, The elder admits the timer is ticking, but says he doesn't have a valid reason to reject the newbie's quest. Tilted, the rival points his finger right in the fighter's face and calls him a noob, swearing they can't afford to throw valuable loot away on him. Totally unfazed, Gorls stands up cracking his neck and sarcastically invites the giant to tag along and help save those supplies. Flashing a taunting smile, he adds that the teammate just needs to have enough guts to actually face the boss fight. Completely triggered by the trash talk, Goff grinds his teeth and yells asking if the new guy is testing his PvP skills. With red eyes full of rage and threats, the MC takes a step forward promising to show his actual stats. Crashing the heavy vibe of the argument, little Meave sprints in totally panicking looking for her grandpa and her beloved boss. Ignoring the girl, the giant gets right in the MC's face and flat out asks if he's down to settle this in a legit 1v1. Hearing that random challenge leaves the sniper completely stunned and unable to do anything. But Gorls doesn't back down an inch and accepts the duel instantly, setting the rule that the loser has to do whatever the winner wants. That bold wager makes his partner totally freak out, thinking they both completely lost their minds. Reading the room calmly, the old Morxel decides to make the PvP match official, totally ignoring his granddaughter's complaints. Right after, the map switches to a massive dirt arena, where the two rivals are already lined up. In the stands around them, the crowd goes absolutely crazy and starts chanting the giant's name on repeat. The overwhelming hype from the clan makes it super obvious who the crowd favorite is to win this matchup. In the middle of the crowd, a tribe member asks the little sniper why she didn't block the new guy from taking such a risky 1v1. Stressed by the situation, she explains everything happened way too fast, and the boss accepted the duel before they could even hit pause. Running the lobby, the shaman sets the rules for the match, warning it's gonna be a zero gear, zero abilities brawl until someone taps out. Right then, the team member freaks out talking about the rival's toxic playstyle, terrified the MC might actually get deleted in the arena. Without stalling any longer, the elder raises his voice and officially drops the countdown for the match to start. The giant lets out a massive roar flexing all his rage, while the new green warrior just taunts him to bring it on. Stomping heavy, the giant disrespects his opponent claiming a basic class upgrade doesn't make him a big deal. He opens his massive arms promising to snap every bone in his rival's body with zero mercy. Exploiting the slow start up of the attack, Gorls dodges the frontal rush with a super clean and relaxed side step. Giving him 0 frames to block, he punishes fast by landing a direct hit right on the giant's torso. The impact is so crazy that the giant's knees drag across the dirt, tanking the absurd damage from that single strike. Keeping the combo going, the MC lands a devastating kick directly on his opponent before he even has time to recover. The force of the hit launches the giant in the air, causing a heavy crash onto the arena floor. Watching the absolute favorite get clapped so easily makes the entire stadium drop into dead silence. Even though his HP is low, the giant breathes heavy and refuses to take the L that fast in this duel. The fighter's stubbornness gets the crowd hyped again, screaming his name to give him a buff. Looking at his opponent a bit annoyed, the green warrior asks sarcastically if he still isn't planning to hit the forfeit button. Driven by pure ego, Goff rushes in for a final panic move and locks his rival in a super tight bear hug. He uses every bit of strength he has trying to completely stun the MC in place. But Gorls simply pushes his arms outward and breaks the giant's hold with terrifying ease. Totally drained and realizing the massive gap in their stats, the giant hits the dirt accepting he just got outplayed. Looking at the downed opponent, the winner sighs and casually points out the giant has a good build, but his skill level is absolute trash. When the match wraps up, the old elder raises his hands and crowns Gorls the undisputed champ, making the crowd pop off. Following the rules of the lobby, the spiritual leader confirms he'll authorize the reward they agreed on. Happy with the results, the MC turns his back and thanks the master for giving him the shot. He just stands there in the middle of the ring, soaking in the new high-rank status he just unlocked. Breaking the heavy tension, little Meave sprints over and jumps on his neck celebrating the dub. Flexing hard, she turns to the rest of the crew and starts hyping up her boyfriend's insane power level. Right then, a member drops to his knees swearing total loyalty to the new boss, while the sniper announces she's gonna hook up with him today. The chaos gets paused when the old master calls the champion's name in a super bossy tone. Instantly, both the MC and the girl snap to attention and answer the spiritual master with massive respect. Demanding the chat to mute, the shaman slams the bottom of his rustic staff hard against the stone floor. A bright blue magical aura starts glowing right out of the weapon. The energy spreads crazy fast through the room, popping open a massive dimensional rift right behind the elder. Seeing all that magic leaves the new leader shook, since he recognizes the energy signature instantly. Staying chill, the wise guy tells the young dude to step up, warning there's a VPN PC he needs to meet. Not even blinking at the order, the green fighter accepts the invite and steps through the glowing portal right behind his leader. In a flash, they exit the loading screen and spawn inside a massive room packed with top-tier decorations. Right after they both clear the gate, the mystic portal shuts tight real fast behind them. The young guy walks a few feet on the fancy tile, noticing the insane difference between this spot and the clan's basic cave. He trails the old man carefully, checking out every single detail of this ridiculously rich zone. The huge layout looks way more like the inside of a royal castle than a monster's den. Suddenly, a blinding gold light flashes right in the middle of the room, grabbing the duo's attention. The fighter keeps his eyes wide, getting completely caught off guard by that magic animation that just spawned. Right in the middle of the glow, a beautiful woman with golden skin appears, greeting the old shaman like they're besties. Realizing he's totally out of his element, the MC whispers asking what kind of secret area they just fast traveled to. Ignoring the rookie's question, the old man just raises his arm and orders him to step even closer. Keeping a respectful vibe, the young guy walks up to the spiritual guide waiting for the next quest prompt. With a quick flick, the elder gathers some blue energy on his fingertip and taps it lightly on the fighter's forehead. The magic power starts flowing while the leader tells him to bow his head to show some respect. The young guy feels a buff entering his system, taking in that magical download without saying a word. Flexing his admin rights, Morxel officially gives the fighter the green light to launch his own splinter faction, leaving him completely mind blown. The leader explains he's already proved he's got high value. Plus he already has a bunch of members following his pings. Pointing at the glowing woman, the elder says that mysterious lady's whole quest is to help him out on this new run. The trio groups up around a premium desk in the middle of the room, setting the stage for a heavy dialogue. Floating down softly, the woman steps barefoot onto the fancy rug super smoothly. Dripping with charisma, she drops her official gamer tag, Rumpelstiltskin, asserting her dominant presence in the room. Checking out her shiny skin, Girls instantly realizes he's face to face with an ultra-rare golden goblin. Acting super casual, the owner walks to her executive desk and takes a seat to kick off the chat. She verifies the young guy's ID and cuts right to the chase, mentioning she heard rumors he's in the market for some gear. But keeping her merchant hustle strong, she makes it crystal clear that every item has a price tag, and she doesn't do free giveaways. Before locking in any trades, the golden lady points to the chair and asks the buyer to sit down and drop his lore. Rolling with it, the green fighter pulls up the heavy wooden chair without making a big deal out of it. He gets comfortable staring down the merchant, acting super chill to keep control of the vibe. Looking the boss lady dead in the eyes, he straight up asks where exactly she wants him to start the cutscene. Spilling everything, he casually explains he respawned in this avatar and swears that's the 100% true backstory. Shaking, the golden merchant bows her head like she's trying to hold back some crazy reaction. With a sudden slam on the desk, she declares that his lore is pure genius. Hyped out of her mind, the woman swears that was the most epic story she's heard in her entire playthrough. Staying on track, the green warrior snaps his fingers to get her focus back on the actual transaction. A massive loot drop of magic items and golden gear spawns in the room, flexing the insane wealth and power of the owner. Rubbing her hands together, she decides that story is going to become the most expensive item in her whole inventory. The vendor gets even more hyped, making it obvious how much she loved every tiny detail of his run. Running out of patience with the lag, Gorls slams the desk hard to skip the dialogue. But the woman keeps laughing uncontrollably, admitting it's been a minute since someone got her this hyped up. Annoyed by her extra behavior, the MC asks what part of his tragic backstory made her want to eliminate someone. Cutting to the chase, he asks if he finally has clearance to loot the weapons he came for. Rumpelstiltskin snaps back to reality laughing, agreeing that the kid can't queue up without the right loadout. With a quick hop, she vaults over the premium desk, landing perfectly in front of her newest customer. Stopping right up in his face, The woman promises she's gonna throw in a super exclusive bonus for the OP fighter. To wrap things up, she turns around and tells the guy to follow her through the room to check out the drop. Instantly, the vendor unlocks a massive glowing golden portal and says she's gonna reveal the reward. Walking backwards while reading some notes, she quotes the sad part of his lore, calling the whole thing top tier. Stepping out the portal, Girl spawns wearing a combo of leather gear and body armor that has way higher durability. Closing her book, the boss hypes up his new skin, saying he actually looks like a legit faction leader now. The green fighter agrees with the review, feeling like they are finally geared up for some action. Glad the armor feels light, he clenches his fist hard, noticing a much bigger stamina buff running through his stats. Happy with the rollout, the golden lady stretches out, chilling in the middle of her treasure room. Full of herself, she flexes that her trading instincts literally never miss. Switching to a more serious stance, the partner asks him to pay close attention to her breakdown of the rewards. The faction commander keeps a locked-in, quiet vibe, focusing entirely on what the vendor is about to drop. The scene swaps over to a white flag, waving in the wind at the base of the summoned humans. Up on a nearby hill, the fighter hears his squad spamming his name over and over. Standing on top of a rock, he looks down at the team grouped up below, waiting for pings. Without lagging, the leader draws his brand new iron blade, looking super confident and locked in. Flashing his sharp teeth, he orders the crew to push, declaring the wipeout event has officially started. The squad of green skins aggroes hard through the bushes, dropping terrifying battle cries. Meanwhile, the human base's flag keeps waving up top, completely exposed to the raid about to hit. A human guard sprints away in a panic across the grass, trying to warn the lobby about the incoming hostiles. Crashing into one of the tents, the young guy yells at the squad commander that the zone is getting breached. Totally out of breath, the minion explains that the raid isn't players, it's actually a whole mob of creatures. That crazy intel leaves the troop leader totally stunned and AFK for a second. Outside, the enemy squad is already wrecking the wooden barricades, pushing into the fort with pure brute force. Gorol's ruthless push clears a path through the map, remembering the vendor's words about the first bonus item. Then, the UI pops up saying the clan members' kill count will now sync up with the commander's. The Golden Lady's reminder echoes again, dropping a hyped laugh while mentioning there's a second buff. In the middle of the chaotic team fight, the green fighter turns his head, already waiting for that power to activate. A massive, glowing system UI projects itself right behind the new leader. Checking out the screen, he realizes amazed that she actually managed to hack open a quest window for him. The partner had explained he could access the quests with absolutely zero time or map limits. With a casual swipe in the air, the MC accepts the quest to wipe out the humans to keep grinding his levels. Stoked about how clean the UI is, he mentions that pulling off something he only read about is an insanely surreal flex. One of the human fighters drops a terrified scream, trying to block a heavy rush from a little invader. A bunch more goons get brutally taken down by the mobs, proving this speedrun strat is totally dominating. A blunt weapon smashes right into one of the guards, sending the guy to the lobby instantly. Moving fast, the little sniper jumps smoothly and spams her arrows to provide flawless cover fire from range. The brawl gets worse, spreading chaos all over the camp, while the guards keep dropping offline one after another. Tilted by his own team's cowardice, the troop commander yells, asking what the heck they are doing. Gripping his weapon tight, he orders his minions to show the mobs what happens when you mess with actual players. In a ridiculously fast dash, the green fighter's sword slices the air in a totally unforgiving strike. The speed attack hits the troop commander, causing an instant KO, shutting down their defense strat in a split second. Keeping his boss energy, the MC trashes the downed human for calling them garbage just a minute ago. The dead boss's body drops heavy into the dust, completely breaking the morale of the fighters left standing. Watching their carry get deleted that easily with one hit, one of the minions freezes in pure panic. Overwhelmed by total fear, the fighter gives up on the match and turns his back on the enemy, sprinting away in a desperate attempt to log out. The panic spreads to the rest of the squad, making all the humans run away from the zone in complete chaos. The green leader watches the players run with absolute zero chill, not even bothering to chase the defeated team. With a deadpan look, he mutters, calling those cowardly guys idiots for rage quitting like that. Meanwhile, the clan members celebrate the massive dub by jumping around and screaming with hype. But the commander's focus shifts when he remembers one more key detail from their last meeting. The Golden Lady had straight up asked if he had already picked a cool gamertag for his new faction. That question caught the fighter off guard, making him brainstorm what title would be top tier for the clan. Snapping back to the present, he violently yanks his sword out of the downed enemy on the battlefield. With a quick flick, the commander shakes the weapon to clean it off, making it obvious the match is over. Turning his body to the team with major boss energy, he hypes up everyone's insane performance during the raid. With a serious tone, he announces to the listening squad that starting today, they have respawned as legit warriors. He throws it back to the rough days when they used to just camp in the dark, unable to do anything but run away. But, pointing his finger at the wrecked map, he points out they finally scored a legit victory over their enemies. Fueled by rage and focus, the Green Leader promises that from this moment on, they'll score even more massive dubs. Raising his sword to the sky, he makes the whole squad scream and hype at his motivational speech. With maximum respect, Gorls officially registers his new family as the Blood Dagger clan. After the brutal win at the base, scavengers start circling in the sky above the human zone that is now completely wiped out. Far away, the Golden Vendor approves of the name Blood Dagger for the squad, calling the branding top tier. Pacing around the fancy room, she wants to know why he picked that exact blade as the clan's logo. The Green Commander explains super bluntly that it was the item he used the very first time he took out a player. Flashing back to his old life, he notes that eliminating someone right after respawning as a mob locked in his choice for that sword. Hearing that hardcore reason gets the woman hyped, saying she likes the branding even more now. Not getting why she's so excited, Gorls asks what she actually gains from carrying his squad like this. Turning around and walking with style, the vendor admits her only interest is in the warrior's storyline. She sits back chilling in a fancy chair, swearing that dramatic lore always brings in the biggest bags of gold. Staring down the buyer, the woman claims that listening to him talk leaked some super intense and dangerous vibes. Gorls stays quiet while she says she noticed all the pent-up aggro sitting inside his head. Pointing her finger right at the commander, she adds she could also spot the massive trauma he's lugging around. Super invested in the lore, the boss lady admits she wants to stick around to see how this whole revenge arc wraps up. At that moment, the fighter reaches out and says thanks for the carry, admitting the weapons were a huge buff during the raid. But she tells him to hold the thanks, since her plan is to monetize the story for a ton of cash, leaving the dude shook by her grind set. Waving bye to the new commander, the woman drops a salute and hopes the faction's next raid is an epic dub. The map switches to a massive human stone castle, running as the military hub for Squad Number 13. A bulletin board on the wall drops updates about the newest raids in the zone, ordering max security buffs for the area. Tilted by the panic spreading around, one of the fighters slams the desk calling the bosses idiots for making such a big deal out of it. The fighter named Lee Sang Jun laughs at the situation, thinking it's a total joke to be scared of such low-tier mobs. Holding a document, another fighter warns the logs say these attackers aren't normal and move around like actual ghosts. Completely ignoring his teammate's warning, the guy crushes a piece of paper into a ball showing massive ego and rage. He chucks the paper ball right at his buddy's face, asking why one of those mobs is solo, pushing if they usually stick to groups. The laid-back guy tries to explain the threat level is insane, since a huge chunk of the rescued humans' base got deleted. Driven by pure arrogance, Lee declares those rescued humans were basically useless NPCs anyway, seeing this as the perfect chance to farm rank. Worried about his teammates' greedy plays, the dark-haired warrior asks what kind of strat he's actually planning to pull off. Staring at the crumpled paper tossed on the wooden floor, the greedy fighter shows nothing but disrespect for the green attackers. Motivated by wanting more clout, he swears he's gonna track down and delete every single one of those creatures with his own hands to get famous. Far away in a damp, unlit dungeon, a bowl of food gets aggressively shoved across the rocky floor of the cell. Curled up in a nasty corner, the girl the Green Commander spared earlier is having a terrible time locked up. Outside the bars, a guy drops Hayan's name, noting with a toxic tone that she refused to eat once again. Totally drained, the girl calls the guy trash and asks if he spiked her food with something. Fighter Lee finds the captive's stubbornness hilarious, sarcastically asking where a rich girl learned to trash talk like that. Turning his back just to be annoying, The cruel guard taunts the girl, saying she must have picked up that slang from her own mom. Pushed over the edge by the insult, Hyan rushes the iron bars and flames the guard with every bit of rage she has left. Annoyed by her clapback, he rubs it in her face that they tried to take care of her, reminding her that her real, world VIP status means zero in here. Pointing aggressively, he complains the boys just wanted to have a little fun. But she ended up pulling a blade on them. Realizing she can't win this verbal 1v1, the girl sits back down on the floor and hides her face in total silence. The warrior watches the defeated captive through the iron gaps, gripping the security bar super tight. Backing away from the cell, the guy breathes out, looking like he's actually enjoying the miserable state the girl is stuck in. Keeping his toxic energy, he promises to show the girl what her actual value is in this fantasy server. Moving fast, the greedy guy orders them to grab the captive and hand her over to the trackers to use as bait in the woods. Flashing a messed up smile, he warns the girl her fate is locked and she's about to be used to aggro the creatures. With the dark taking over the dense forest, the girl ends up tied to a tree trunk right in the middle of an open clearing. With her mouth gagged and zero chance of escaping, she cries in pure panic while waiting for the worst in such a lonely spot. A ton of shiny gold pieces are scattered across the dirt, creating a trail that easily catches the eye in the dark. The loot trail leads straight to the log where the girl is tied, marking the dead center of that late night trap. Camping in the bushes nearby, the two bounty trackers wait patiently while one of them complains about the smell. The veteran of the duo explains they use tree sap to hide their scent, asking if the rookie is getting cold feet. Nervous about the strat, the young tracker asks if this basic bait tactic is actually going to trick the hostiles. Super confident, the veteran tracker swears the setup is flawless and the cash will do the heavy lifting. Analyzing the mob's greed, the kid agrees that loot drops usually work as premium bait in most scenarios. Still, he keeps showing some doubt, not totally buying that the creatures will fall for such an obvious bait. The veteran ignores his buddy's paranoia, just pointing out they already popped all the necessary defensive buffs for a win. Right then, a solo little creature spawns on the path and grabs a gold piece, proving the theory that the loot would pull him to the zone. The older guy adds that the necklace on the captive has a custom enchant meant to aggro the monster squad. Letting out a creepy little laugh, the rookie tracker mentions the monsters probably want to have some fun with the defenseless girl too. He crouches in the bushes with a gross look, arguing that a human victim definitely has way softer skin. With a super deadpan look, the veteran instantly corrects his partner, stating she just counts as top-tier food. Realizing the creatures literally want to eat the captive, the rookie gets serious and mutters, disgusted by that horrifying reality check. Right then, the green fighter casually spawns near the girl tied to the log and tells her to chill, letting her know he's here. Hearing that familiar voice makes the girl open her eyes wide, dropping tears, instantly recognizing who just showed up in the dark. But the relief is super short, and she quickly goes into full panic mode, screaming for her savior to run since this zone is a massive trap. Staying entirely unfazed by her freak out, he just casually replies he already had full intel on the setup. The commander shows absolute map awareness, pinging the exact spots where every single enemy is camping in the woods. Following the boss's orders, the clan members launch a stealth attack and wipe out the hidden trackers in the blink of an eye. The short sniper starts doing work in the backline too, readying her weapon super fast to make sure zero enemies manage to log out safely. Flashing a super confident smirk, the MC jokes about the situation, swearing the humans are the ones who actually got caught in his trap. Tied to the wood and not understanding how he read the whole play, the girl freezes in shock, dying to know how that setup was even possible. Things start making sense when we rewind the timeline a few days before this dramatic forest encounter, showing how the team plotted the raids. In a small farming village far from the main hubs, the vibe was totally chill with the locals farming their high-value land. But that peace gets shut down fast when the workers get stunned, locked and forced to bow down to the green fighters who just pulled up. Running the op, the boss drops a heavy threat saying he doesn't want PvP, demanding they just trade food to the squad. Terrified by the aggro, the farmers quickly hand over multiple bags packed with food, trying to de-escalate the insane tension. Staring at that tiny stack of loot on the ground, the leader asks furiously if that's seriously all the inventory the whole village had. Right then, The green fighter casually spawns near the girl tied to the log and tells her to chill, letting her know he's here. Hearing that familiar voice makes the girl open her eyes wide, dropping tears, instantly recognizing who just showed up in the dark. But the relief is super short, and she quickly goes into full panic mode, screaming for her savior to run since this zone is a massive trap. Staying entirely unfazed by her freak out, he just casually replies he already had full intel on the setup. The commander shows absolute map awareness, pinging the exact spots where every single enemy is camping in the woods. Following the boss's orders, the clan members launch a stealth attack and wipe out the hidden trackers in the blink of an eye. The short sniper starts doing work in the backline too, readying her weapons super fast to make sure 0 enemies manage to log out safely. Flashing a super confident smirk, the MC jokes about the situation, swearing the humans are the ones who actually got caught in his trap, tied to the wood and not understanding how he read the whole play. The girl freezes in shock, dying to know how that setup was even possible. Things start making sense when we rewind the timeline a few days before this dramatic forest encounter, showing how the team plotted the raids. In a small farming village far from the main hubs, the vibe was totally chill with the locals farming their high-value land. But that peace gets shut down fast when the workers get stunned, locked and forced to bow down to the green fighters who just pulled up. Running the op, the boss drops a heavy threat saying he doesn't want PvP, demanding they just trade food to the squad. Terrified by the aggro, the farmers quickly hand over multiple bags packed with food, trying to de-escalate the insane tension. Staring at that tiny stack of loot on the ground, the leader asks furiously if that's seriously all the inventory the whole village had. An older woman begs desperately for her life, crying that this is all they have left after paying those insane taxes. She breaks down crying super hard and swears they only kept the bare minimum so their own families wouldn't hit 0 HP from starving. Hearing this lore of absolute griefing, the fighter processes how toxic humans can be and scowls, staying silent. He lets out a heavy sigh knowing the food would barely last, and gets ticked off realizing their own species treats them like garbage. Checking out the food bags looking super disappointed, he spots the messed up system enforced by the local guards. Leaving everyone stunned, the boss pulls out a bunch of shiny gold pieces from his inventory and places them in the shaking hand of the oldest worker. The old man's eyes go wide in total shock, struggling to believe the premium loot he just got from a monster. Turning his back with a bag on his shoulder, the commander says he's only taking 50%, and that the gold will keep them going for a long time. Overflowing with gratitude, the farmers bow, calling him a hero and master, which makes him cringe and beg them to drop the titles. Suddenly, one of his teammates grabs the boss's attention, asking what they're gonna do with the corrupt guards they captured earlier. With a cold face and 0 pity, he orders them to eliminate the guards right now, saying that type of player doesn't deserve to stay on the server. Without hesitating, the squad members rush in and take down the hostages in a clean, ruthless combo. Watching that hardcore band makes the farmers step back, holding on to each other, panicking at the fatal instincts of the mobs. Keeping his boss walk, the MC leaves the storage area, stepping confidently and leading the squad back to the safe zone. Once outside, he pauses his walk and turns his head, scanning the area super carefully, looking for any incoming aggro. Right then, a paper stuck to a wooden post grabs the team's eye and gets ripped off immediately with a ton of force. The paper turns out to be a bounty board notice from the local guard, offering huge payouts for capturing or deleting the green creatures. Reading the challenge on the paper, the fighter cracks a sarcastic smile, finding the guts of those dumb players hilarious. The little sniper sprints across the dirt, calling her partner, wanting to know if they wrapped up the food run. He confirms they got the loot they needed, but shows her the poster proving the guards decided to launch a non-stop hunt against them. Maxing out his confidence, the commander asks his partner to group up the fastest members, since he wants to have a little fun with these bounty hunters. Super hyped for the new combat quest, the girl gives a military salute and promises she never drops the ball for her OP partner. Casually snacking on some food, he waits for the perfect frame to pop his surprise attack strat. Back to the present in the dark woods, the makeshift camp stays chill with the squad relaxing around the warm campfire. Sitting on a random stump, the young sniper turns her face, looking pretty salty about the cutscene playing out in front of her. The sound of heavy boots snapping dry wood on the ground gives away that someone is pushing toward the fire at their base. The rescued captive girl chews on a piece of food looking completely desperate, proving the hardcore starving debuff she had in prison. Totally drained on stamina, she eats the food like a wild animal while hiccuping and crying from pure trauma. Watching this sad scene up close, the green fighter suggests she eat slower so she doesn't accidentally choke and game over. Chilling on the ground near the fire's heat, he points out somewhat sarcastically that this girl's bad RNG is actually impressive to watch. Trying to secure some basic buffs, the girl stubbornly asks if it wouldn't be a better strat to party up with him, swearing she'll do whatever he says. The girl's mental state breaks, and she drops into heavy crying, venting that she can't take surviving this torturous way anymore. With zero patience left for the humans crying, the Green Commander looks back and coldly repeats that he already gave her an answer. In a totally unhinged breakdown, she screams he shouldn't have carried her from the start, saying she'd rather have just logged out for good. Keeping absolutely zero chill, the MC clarifies he didn't save her out of pity, or at least that's what he tried to convince himself. He looks at the ground thinking, knowing he can't play the tank role forever, and needs to cut ties permanently. Admitting his misplay of getting tangled in this mess, he warns her super strictly that from now on she'll have to solo queue. Terrified of getting dropped by her solo carry, the girl lunges on impulse and grabs the fighter's gear with desperate energy. She looks at him with a completely broken face and screams, demanding the boss just eliminate her right there in front of everyone. That extreme random request from a defenseless girl catches the fighter totally off guard, cracking his invincible aura. Tilted by the fear of suffering again, the girl claims she'd rather get deleted than be locked up and griefed by that trash guy again. Trying to chill the chaotic vibe, the Green Commander raises his hands asking her to pause for a sec and lower her mic volume. With a super sharp look of pure rivalry, he repeats the enemy's name and asks if she's talking about the corrupt guard from the base. Not getting why he suddenly locked onto that disgusting dude, the girl relaxes a bit and asks if he met him in his past run. Rubbing his chin with a super toxic smirk, the MC swears he knows that cowardly, arrogant player way too well. The vibe gets super heavy when the commander darkly states that guy made mistakes so massive he permanently lost his right to play. Shifting the chat back to planning the raid, he bluntly asks how long the girl was locked in the dungeon at that guard base. She looks up trying to load those traumatic memories and says she was stuck there for a few days, still clueless about the creature's real plans. Demanding a full intel dump, he orders her to drop exactly everything she saw and heard in the military camp before he locks in a play. Meanwhile, a bit away from that heavy chat, someone is impatiently plucking the petals off a small flower in her hand. It's the young sniper sitting on a cut log, clearly salty and jealous of the attention the hostage is getting from her leader. Her childish, envious thoughts get interrupted instantly when her crush's deep voice calls for her in the dark. The saltiness vanishes in a flash, and the girl spins around, literally jumping with pure hype and joy when she hears the fighter ping her. Skipping the jokes, the commander orders her to group up the fastest troops in the squad, leaving his partner stoked about the surprise. With a face full of threats and a promise of payback, he admits he's assembling a strike team focused on wiping out the platoon. The story shifts to the morning light, showing the massive, upgraded stone base that serves as the guard's control room. Inside the premium setup, an official nameplate sits on the desk showing the greedy leader's name. The arrogant, toxic guy is slumped in his huge leather gaming chair, breathing heavy and sweating a ton after some intense grinding. The shot shows a hand gripping the edge of the wooden desk super hard, proving the guy is massively stressed and burned out. Completely comfortable in his own zone, the corrupt boss flexes the stats of the guys who simp for him and work with total loyalty. The heavy vibe in the room breaks when a fighter busts into the room panicking, warning the boss about a disaster. Annoyed by the lack of manners, Lee Sang-jun flames his minion and asks if he doesn't know how to knock, but the guy insists he needs to check outside right now. Adjusting his pants, the boss gets up from the desk huffing with rage, wanting to know what kind of glitch is happening this time. Outside, the map looks like a horror game with one of the platoon's fighters totally knocked out and left in the dirt. A wider angle shows a massive pile of offline bodies from the platoon members, proving the base got hit by a brutal raid. That first morning, the surviving members group up stunned around the terrifying scene, checking the IDs of their downed squad mates. One of the guys IDs the bodies, crying as he reports that those were the fighters sent to hunt the green mobs in the forest. The shock of the team wipe is so huge that one of the guards can't take it, and just faints right there in the open. Sweating cold and absolutely terrified, the boss orders them to double the guards and spam a distress ping to the main HQ immediately. Right then, he spots the feet of a body stuck in the wooden frame and instantly connects the dots on who caused this wipe. The dead guy has a toxic sign calling Lee trash, making it clear the boss who used to get hyped up is actually just a noob. The flashback from his past run hits him hard, showing the old human fighter flaming him and calling him absolute garbage. The boss perfectly remembers seeing a hangman's noose around that exact guy's neck during that tragic event. Staring at his own castle, he breaks down in bitterness and confusion, unable to process how that scrub hasn't logged off yet. The nameplate on his desk just boosts his anxiety, signaling that the commander's reign is about to completely crash. Pulling his own hair at his desk, the boss loses his mind trying to figure out what kind of boss mob he's actually fighting. The panic sets in, because those little creatures are supposed to be the lowest tier race on the server. He can't accept that his squad is getting targeted and disrespected so brutally by mobs with such garbage stats. Looking for an out, Lee screams for his right-hand man, checking if the SOS ping to the main platoon actually sent. Far away, the messenger bird carrying the help request gets snipped out of the sky by a perfect skill shot, canceling the message. The massive green hills hide the stealth plays and secrets of the enemy squad. A remote wooden cabin sits dead quiet in the middle of the thick forest, miles away from any safe zones. Outside, the green commander ties climbing ropes around his waist, figuring he has the stats to infiltrate any base now. Inside the rustic house, an old tracker hears a sketchy noise and stares at the window feeling paranoid. A little goblin pops up hanging upside down right at the window glass, flashing a creepy smile that would jump scare anyone. Gorls then peeks sneakily through the crack in the wooden door, keeping tabs on the guy chilling inside. Noticing someone breached, the tracker grabs his weapon and asks what the invader wants with his base. Super chill. The Green Master tosses a bag of gold pieces on the counter to pay the entry fee. He drops another stack of shiny coins on the table, clarifying this pays for the climbing gear he looted. Keeping his deadpan in strict posture, he warns the tabs are cleared and demands the old man accepts their accounts are zeroed starting today. The tracker swallows hard and just nods a bunch of times, accepting the trade without daring to talk back to the mob. With the trade finished, the MC walks down the cabin steps and heads back outside. The young sniper runs up super hyped toward her crush, reporting she already grouped the strike team he asked for. The tactical squad salutes the boss with massive hype, pointing out the girl completed the quest flawlessly. Flashing a proud smile, the commander gives his partner head pats and praises the top-tier performance she dropped. Right after, he locks in the strat, ordering them to push the military base entrance as soon as the sun drops to cause as much chaos as possible. Tossing clothes and weapons on the floor for a pair of minions, he orders them to equip the gear instantly. Taking on the ultimate boss stance, Gorls announces that from this moment on, these soldiers are the clan's Tier 1 tactical squad. The sun sets on the map, and a barrage of flaming projectiles arcs through the night sky straight for the human walls. Panic takes over the castle while a terrified guard rings the alarm bell screaming about the surprise raid. Leading the frontline push, Meave gives the squad the green light to fire, setting the human barricades ablaze with insane accuracy. The platoon members scramble running over each other on the wooden stairs, totally caught off guard by a push this massive. The gates get bashed open with a loud crash that echoes through the whole base. The same guard bursts into the boss's room screaming, dropping intel about the aerial strikes, leaving the guy totally shook. Gripped by total panic, Lee sang. Jun points his arm demanding they lock down the doors and send every guard to the top of the walls. Not arguing with the extreme call, the soldier follows the ping and sprints fast to try and fix the base's defense. Left solo, the boss flops into his chair sweating bullets and panting hard, because the threat level is off the charts. He finally realizes these mobs aren't basic NPCs, since there's zero history of monsters raiding a fort like this. Slamming the desk in rage, he decides the only play is to turtle up and survive until the backup squad reaches the base to carry them. A heavy metal grappling hook gets chucked up and latches hard onto the rocks at the top of the fortified wall. A bald guard patrolling the high ground hears the weird noise and looks down trying to figure out what dropped. Clueless about the aggro nearby, the guy leans over the stone edge trying to see what clipped onto the wall. In a stealth strike coming out of the dark, the guard gets hit with a fatal, totally silent attack, giving him 0 frames to dodge. The speed play takes the soldier's HP to 0 instantly, kicking off the tactical raid with brutal efficiency. The human's offline body falls backward into the narrow hall, clearing the path for the raid team. Gorls pops up scaling the rope super fast, clearing the wall climb without drawing a single aggro ping. Scanning the zone calmly, he notices the platoon rotated out of that area and realizes the sniper's bait strat was flawless. Without lagging, the green commander sheathes his sword and gets ready for the next phase. Right then, the voice of one of his minions whispers right behind him, calling him boss to confirm the squad loaded in. The full raid team takes their positions on top of the wall, weapons out and 100% ready to start the indoor PvP. Focused on the main objective, the green commander orders them to blitz the base and vanish, warning the main target is the guard captain. The clan members nod instantly and start pushing silently through the stone hallways of the castle. The squad moves ruthlessly behind a guard who only spots the breach when it's too late. Before the human can even use voice chat, the mobs drop him with precise and super fast combos. Exploiting the gap, the MC sprints ahead of the team with terrifying speed, trying to secure map control. A quick ranged attack beams a guard instantly, deleting another hazard from the route. The green squad rushes down the wooden stairs looking like a literal death shadow, pushing into the lower floors. Gorl stays in the front holding his sharp weapon, setting the crazy fast pace for the speedrun, dropping another enemy on the way. He mutters with disgust about all the lag these people are causing over a basic raid. With non-stop movement and 0 hesitation, he claps another patroller who tried to block the squad's rush. Grabbing a guard by the collar, the green commander uses his boss strength to yeet the guy right over the wooden railing. The troop member falls into the void taking massive fall damage, losing his chance to stay in the match. Watching the enemy drop, Gorls waves by super coldly, calling that human an absolute bot. The noise of the chaos gets closer and closer to the commander's room, making Boss Lee freeze in fear and sweat cold. The double security doors to the room get smashed aggressively, signaling it's game over for the trash boss. The wooden entrance to the control room gets wrecked with massive force, breaking into pieces from the hit. Jump scared by the noise, the weak officer takes a step back instantly pulling his blade while shaking with fear. Violent stomps echo on the floor, showing the dark silhouette of the green commander entering the lobby. Gorls coldly states the boss's voice sounds familiar and swears he's gonna lose his mind when he sees his face. Hearing that toxic taunt, the officer's eyes go wide as he feels absolute terror take over his system. Totally tilted, the officer raises his blade demanding to know who raided the base and how a basic mob can use human voice chat. Ignoring the warning, the green commander flashes his sharp fangs and drops a dangerous threat that the officer should be worrying about a different issue right now. The room goes dark as the MC reveals who he really was in his past run, mocking the guy's title with huge disrespect. Lee Sang-jun freezes in total shock, sweating with fear as he gets a close look at the entity that just unmasked itself. The screen cuts to a tragic flashback in a pitch-black cave, where desperate footsteps echoed during an escape. Back then, the guy was running terrified through the rock tunnels trying to survive a boss mob. Out of breath and running low on stamina, he begs his partner to stay strong, admitting he's about to pass out from exhaustion. Right behind the guy, his human partner who would later respawn as the Green Commander is also running out of breath asking him not to stop the sprint. Gripped by panic and scared of a game over, the cowardly old captain tells his teammate to stop whining and keep rushing the exit. He swears they just need to wipe out those filthy rats and checks his six to see how close the aggro is. A massive horde of raging mobs rushes through the dark hallway trying to catch the two humans escaping. Unable to handle the stress, Sang-jun screams in panic declaring he can't keep playing this unreal scenario. Back to the present, Gorls thinks to himself he never guessed his own squadmate would use them as bait just to log out with full HP. The flashback shows the exact frame the warrior realized his teammate was throwing the game in the middle of the cave. Leading the sprint, the traitor calls out that the troops are pulling up, leaving his clanmates behind in the dark while he runs for the light outside. Snapping back to now, the green leader yells he promised to personally delete the officer if he ever ran into him again. Staring straight at the captured guy in the base, He mutters bitterly that he never got the chance to pull off that vow while he was on his human account. Holding his blade, the captain tries to keep his guard up while the green warrior steps closer, saying he's got a bunch of questions. But he mentions this room isn't the best lobby to chat, throwing out the idea they swap to a much more private server. Controlled by fear, the guy screams he's not rotating anywhere and rejects the invite super hard. Out of patience, the MC aims a weapon at the enemy and declares he's just gonna shoot and drag him out of the room by force. Sang Jun takes a few steps back, sweating with terror, asking if this is some kind of massive troll while trying to process the actual danger. The green leader drops a cold laugh, reminding him the captain never even treated him like a real player in the first place. The suspense peaks as the guard commander gets speed, blitzed and pinned to the floor with 0 frames to block. A bit later, the green squad walks through the shadows outside in the dark, carrying the hostage tied up and gagged with a cloth. The captured captain gets dumped on his knees at the edge of the stone wall, completely muted from calling for backup. Without any long setup, the green leader kicks the guy and orders him to log off that structure for good. The prisoner's character model drops from the top of the base in a free fall, aiming straight for the dirt below. He hits the ground face first in the grass, dropping a muffled groan through the gag, tanking the massive fall damage. A duo of clan members camping at the bottom walks up amazed, seeing the ordered package literally drop from the sky. Moving fast, one of the minions grabs the human by the hair and celebrates, because the drop survived with exactly 1 HP, just like the boss requested. Up on the wall, Gorls asks if all allies are prepped and orders Meave to ping the retreat. The short sniper grabs a horn and blows a loud note, telling the rest of the squad it's time to blow the base and extract from the zone. The explosion goes off hard in the base, while the mob squad sprints away at max speed through the burning open field. Watching the enemy extract, a guard commander demands all teams hold their fire and fall back fast to save team lives. On the top of the wall, an out-of-breath warrior reports the enemies randomly changed their strat. He throws his hands up feeling relieved and yells, asking the army to pause the counterattack, confirming the raiders are finally logging out of the base. The sunrise lights up the quiet forest, calling GG on that chaotic and messy night in the human zones. Far away from all that noise, the secret base stays chill, soaking in the morning light that just spawned. A bowl with a huge, premium piece of freshly cooked meat is handed over in a totally random act of kindness for this lobby. The captive girl just stares blankly at the food, still wrapped in a blanket in the middle of the mob camp. The old human tracker chilling with the tribe gives a friendly smile, promising the meat is cooked perfect and tastes super good. Staying on mute, the girl just listens to the tip while processing all the crazy patches that dropped recently. Curled up on the ground near the wooden wall, she hesitates to eat, and the old man swears there's 0 poison debuffs on it. He then sits back comfortably on a ledge next to the girl, setting up a chill vibe so they can chat. Keeping it real, the hunter admits he wanted to say thanks to the girl for the clutch play she made earlier. Thinking back to the crazy night, he confesses that if she hadn't made a move, he would have gotten a game over right next to the other hostages. The girl looks away and explains she only did it because he was the only player to show any support, instead of just trolling other people's pain. Switching topics, the old guy looks at the girl curious and asks if she happens to be part of the summoned batch too. He explains that's the tag the native NPCs use to categorize players pulled from a different time and server into this reality. Taking a deep breath, she agrees that tag fits the glitchy scenario she ended up in perfectly. The old man mentions that usually those summoned players unlock exclusive skills through events called quests, and wants to know if she unlocked anything like that. The girl looks back stunned, confirming the sketchy mechanic that's been pinging her since she spawned. A glowing UI softly pops up right behind the girl, showing her starter quest to take down some mobs. The blue screen spells out the basic objective to eliminate a monster to unlock a base skill in this new server. Nearby, a duo of tribe members is spectating their chat, finding the chill vibe between them hilarious. The sniper walks up calling them both idiots and asking what else a couple of simps would be doing besides dropping useless dialogue. Tilted by their lack of focus, she drops a heavy threat promising the whole squad risks getting hit with some massive debuffs. The tracker and the girl snap their heads in panic, noticing the teammate pulling up to argue with the guards on top of the shelter. The map swaps to the inside of an isolated barn, where painful wheezing sounds leak out muffled by the rustic walls. Tied up and on his knees in the middle of the shed, the dethroned captain coughs in pain while staring at the brutal combos the Green Commander is dropping. A fast strike hits the back of the prisoner super hard, pulling another high-pitched scream of terror out of the human. Staring closely at the battered guy with ice in his veins, Gorls drops the strict order that he needs to start leaking every single thing he knows. The commander stands tall over the defenseless traitor, demanding to know what exploit he used to extract from that cave without dying back then. Sweating and taking massive damage, Lee sang. Jun mumbles, claiming he doesn't get the question, pointing out he's only alive simply because his HP didn't hit 0 in there. Annoyed by the troll answer, the MC declares that excuse is completely invalid for the current patch. Right then, he unleashes a flurry of ruthless strikes straight to the prisoner's face, punishing the ex-leader with absolutely zero mercy. Unable to counter the combo damage, the ex-commander screams, begging desperately for the creature to pause the hits and stop the aggro. Overcome by total despair, he throws his head back and screams, swearing he'll leak any info, just wanting to know exactly what the boss mob wants to hear. Keeping his blank, tactical stare, the Green Commander accepts the forfeit and announces he's about to run the exact same dialogue prompt again. In the middle of this torturous nightmare, the guy bawls his eyes out, calling it totally ridiculous to ask a breathing dude how he's still kicking. The Green boss claps right back, swearing he watched the guy get publicly taken out by the Holy Sword Warrior herself. Hearing that name, the prisoner's eyes pop out of his head, completely mind-blown by the claim that she supposedly finished him off. Pacing behind the ex-captain, the monster listens to his frantic swearing that he never even caught a glimpse of that woman's face. Gripping the coward's face tight, the MC demands to know why he treated the summoned folks like totally disposable pawns. Turning up the heat, the Green boss flat out accuses the human of handing the female prisoners over to his higher-ups too. The warrior breaks it down, saying the deserter fled west, but caught by the warrior woman 4 months later, which is where he met his end. Even with his face squished, the guy screams in absolute rage that it's all cap, claiming he never went west and has been chilling in this area for just over a year. Totally blindsided by this wild plot twist, the Green Master completely drops his intimidating vibe. He slowly lets go of the dude's face and goes dead silent, trying super hard to compute this new info. Staring at the floor deep in thought, the boss reads the room and figures the prisoner's absolute panic means he's actually dropping facts. The MC also remembers that this guy's current rank is only captain, getting a gut feeling that he completely missed a massive detail. It finally clicks for the warrior, leaving him totally shook by this crazy, impossible reality. Stepping back in shock, he asks what day it is, leaving the tied-up dude completely lost by the random trivia question. Stepping up looking super hostile, the big guy grabs the prisoner's clothes and yells, demanding the exact date, year included. Coughing up a lung, the struggling prisoner manages to spit out that today is May 7th of the Imperial Year 86. That date hits the warrior like a freight train, leaving him speechless and deeply rattled. Super confused, he facepalms, trying to wrap his head around the insane scale of this revelation. Needing a minute, the Green boss turns around and walks off, while the human screams, asking where he's going. Thrashing in his chair, the ex-captain demands to be let go, arguing he already answered all the monster's pop quiz questions. Stopping in his tracks, the MC looks back and coldly drops that he almost forgot one tiny little detail. Walking back behind the prisoner, the Green Master announces he made a promise a long time ago that he never got the chance to fulfill. A heavy flashback hits the warrior's mind, bringing up the exact moment he swore to absolutely ruin this cowardly traitor if they ever crossed paths again. Out of nowhere and with zero chill, the green hands violently grab the guy's head, catching him totally off guard. One quick, decisive strike sends the prisoner to the Shadow Realm instantly, permanently wrapping up the chat in that barn. Staring down at his defeated enemy, the master says in a dark tone that he finally kept his old promise. Now outside the wooden shack, the warrior's brain is still stuck on the Imperial Year the guy dropped before clocking out. Looking at his own hand, he realizes he somehow hit rewind and went back in time exactly 5 years before his ultimate defeat. The writing is on the wall, proving he didn't just get a new character model, but he actually time traveled. Pushing the rusty door open, the clan boss leaves the barn with purpose and a totally fresh view of the world. Strolling across the quiet camp's grass, The green leader heads over to the young captive chilling on the dirt. Stopping right in front of her, he checks the girl's vibe and asks for a quick one-on-one chat. The young woman scrambles to her feet super awkwardly, totally down to hear what the boss has to say. Not too far away, the short archer girl aggressively side eyes their little meet up over a wooden fence, radiating pure suspicion. The breeze gently rustles the leaves, showing off a super rare moment of peace out in the woods. Now totally alone in the forest, the two walk side by side as the boss starts dropping some heavy news. He tells the human to listen up and ask straight up if she's still planning to tag along with him. Keeping a totally serious look, the MC makes it crystal clear that he can't promise absolute VIP protection on this new quest. He warns her that the road ahead is going to be way rougher than anything she's seen, letting her know she'll have to watch her own back. Pushing for a final answer, the warrior asks if, knowing all this, she still wants to follow him, and gets a super confident confirmation in return. For a hot second, the big guy just quietly watches the girl, respecting her hustle, and tells her to memorize one super important phrase. Speaking in some ancient, rough-sounding tongue, he teaches her the exact words that will brand her as a goblin's war prize. Super curious about the weird language, the girl nervously twiddles her thumbs and asks him to spell out what that title actually means. He breaks it down, saying as long as she repeats those words, most monsters will mind their own business, but reminds her that staying in the game is still on her. The human hangs onto his every word, fully expecting the boss to raise a finger and drop another crazy rule. Instead, he totally chills out and promises she's 100% free to dip whenever she wants if she changes her mind. Feeling a massive wave of relief about the guaranteed safety, the young woman looks down, a bit shy, and thanks him for the huge carry. Getting a bit bolder as they walk, she politely turns to her hero and asks if she can call in a tiny favor. Sweating bullets and super nervous, the girl asks if there's anywhere she can grab a bath to freshen up. The green boss pauses for a sec before yelling out his archer buddy's name, scaring the living daylights out of her for getting caught snooping. Pointing at the young woman, the leader tells his subordinate that this human belongs to him now, ordering her to spread the word to the rest of the crew. Sunlight hits the straw roofs of the huts, showing off just how peaceful this the grid camp really is. A makeshift white tarp is set up outside, trapping a whole lot of steamy heat inside. Chilling outside the fabric tent, the green leader hangs out with the old human hunter who crashes with them. The old dude scratches his head, super embarrassed, and apologizes for being a bother, joking that he's always accidentally owing the warrior favors. Playing it cool, the leader tells him to brush it off, since all those old tabs have already been cleared. The green boss casually adds that the squad was planning to take the trash out and move the traitor captain's body anyway. Chuckling, the hunter admits he was totally going to use the guy as bait, noticing the creature had some serious beef with that dude. Getting real for a second, the old man points out that absolutely nobody in the neighborhood could stand the guards from that outpost. The old-timer reminisces about the rough days when that corrupt captain acted like a total bully, shaking down villagers for their supplies. The hunter straight up admits those scumbags were the only reason he was forced to become an outcast bounty hunter in the first place. Two tribe members literally drag the commander's lifeless body through the dirt, while the old man promises a ton of people will be throwing a party over his exit. Their chat gets cut off when the short archer girl Speed walks over, looking super hyped while carrying a stack of perfectly folded clothes. She asks where she should drop the outfits she scored at the market for the new captive, leaving the old guy completely amazed by her rare good mood. Inside, the young woman relaxes in the hot water, while awkwardly struggling to practice her new protective catchphrase for the green sidekick. The archer tells her to use her inside voice and stop yelling, letting her know the whole tribe already got the memo. Walking solo through the woods, the MC looks down, trying to sort out the massive info dump he just processed. In dead silence, he replays the tape, remembering how the holy sword folded him, but now he's scored a massive redo by time traveling. Super hyped that the puzzle pieces are fitting together, the warrior realizes his old haters are still around, living out their original timelines. A massive rush of adrenaline hits the green leader, and he clenches his fists, feeling just how epic this second chance really is. He breathes a huge sigh of relief, realizing the game patch notes just totally buffed his side, and he can now block a ton of bad endings. With literal hope shining in his eyes, He figures the girl he loved back in the day has to be out there somewhere, alive and well. The tragic flashback of trying to protect his partner in the middle of that busted old battlefield hits him right in the feels. Remembering her sweet smile as she called him by his old human name totally melts the monster's hardened heart. Standing in the rain at the camp, the boss swears on everything he has that, this time around, he won't let her get a bad ending. Flashing a seriously fierce look, the green leader vows to literally break the whole world, if that's what it takes to keep her safe. Way out in the dark woods, a super creepy scene shows a body tied upside down to a tree. Right then, a guard carrying a torch strolls through the forest and bumps into the hanging dude. Getting closer, the ex-captain's totally wrecked, decaying face is put on full display. Looking down from his horse, a knight asks, completely baffled, if that guy is actually Lee Sang-jun. The squad's archer sighs heavily, asking if the monsters really had to flex by putting the body on display like that. The blue-haired magic user chimes in, saying he heard rumors that this enemy isn't just your average, everyday mob. Catching the bad vibes, the veteran bearded warrior admits his spidey senses are tingling, knowing they're up against a totally different kind of threat. The troop leader cuts the chatter, ordering them to prioritize bagging the body first so they can look for clues. Taking charge, the big swordsman barks at everyone to do a gear and armor check right that second. Full of confidence, he hypes up the squad, promising they're going to completely wipe that green menace off the map today. The leader fires up the team, bitterly reminding them that those things took out one of their own boys. Time flies, and the camera cuts to the human base, where guards are screaming to open the massive front gates. Breathing easy, the soldiers up on the fortified walls announce the mercenary crew finally made it back from their run. But feeling the awkward tension in the air, one guard quickly puts two and two together and realizes the captain was found permanently out of office. Strutting over like he owns the place, some dude rolls up and casually asks if they locked down the target. Turns out it's Sergeant Kim, the freshly promoted military guy stepping up as the new head of local security. The veteran swordsman breaks the news that they were too late, and the medic already ID'd the body on the ride back. 0 patients detected. The mercenary boss tosses a hefty bag of cash right into the new captain's hands. He mentions they tossed in a little extra refund cash, since they couldn't 100% clear the quest. Gripping the coins with a greedy smirk, the surgeon announces the mission was officially a wrap the second they found the body. Mocking them, he asks if the squad seriously wants to start drama just to chase down a few low-level mobs. The squad sniper gets absolutely triggered by the military guy disrespecting their boss like that. Waving his hand like a total snob, the new commander tells the mercs to quit crying and get off his lawn. The veteran warrior just takes the trash talk in dead silence, feeling the heavy bag of coins in his hand. Throwing major side-eye, the master silently judges the human officer's totally pathetic vibe. Casually jiggling the cash, the old fighter turns his back, completely ghosting the disrespectful jerk. Riding out on the dirt road, way past the fort, the crew hypes up their boss for having the patience of a saint. But the tiny archer is still raging, complaining that just thinking about that disrespect makes her blood boil. The team's magic user figures the base soldiers just see them as glorified delivery boys, totally forgetting they're actually top-tier mercs. The mage double-checks with the boss, asking if the officer really did hand over a bonus payout. Still annoyed, the archer grumbles about the captain acting like a total diva over a measly handful of change. Keeping it chill, the veteran explains that the whole vibe is way too sus for them to just go home and do nothing. The blue-haired kid pokes fun at his teammate, asking if she still hasn't figured out how their boss operates. He points out the squad is literally heading straight for the residential zone to run their own private investigation, locking in the plan. The boss spills the tea, saying the coroner reported the ex-captain went through some hardcore torture before getting deleted. He lists off the insane damage, making it super clear that your standard monster doesn't act with that kind of ice-cold brutality. The veteran's logic is straight facts. They're either dealing with a totally new elite mob, or somebody is pulling strings behind the scenes. To keep digging, the leader suggests they crash at a local inn and eavesdrop on the town gossip. The girl gets ticked off and yells at her boss, reminding him he swore he was going to quit drinking. Nighttime rolls around, and the scene swaps back to the monster's cozy little forest hideout. The green leader walks the young captive to a stone room, letting her know she'll be crashing there for a bit. Totally mesmerized by the setup, the young woman asks if the clan lives just like humans do, but he sarcastically shoots that down. The warrior explains he basically modded the room to the max, just to make sure she's comfy while she's here. Super touched by her hero being so thoughtful, the human girl blushes hard and shyly says thanks for being a total lifesaver. Pointing to the corner, he tells her to chill out there and grab some grub when the tribe drops it off later. The girl burrows into the cozy bed, feeling a massive wave of relief that she finally scored a safe spawn point to sleep. Just watching her without saying a word, the warrior wonders how she's handling this massive plot twist in her life. He turns away and whispers that this bunker is absolutely the safest spot for her right now. Noticing the girl knocked out almost instantly, the boss smirks, glad she already feels right at home. The young woman breathes nice and easy, totally bundled up and safe from all the toxic drama outside. With his side quest done, the warrior shuts the bedroom door and slips right back into his serious clan leader mode, posting up in front of a wooden desk with a map. He figures this is the prime time to do some inventory management. With a slick swipe of his hand, the MC pulls up his glowing system menu right in thin air. The screen shows his refreshed stats, confirming he just hit level 6 and unlocked the new clan boss title. He's totally amazed by how easy it is to spam the menu open, remembering humans had a strict daily limit on that feature. Scrolling through his options, the warrior goes full try-hard mode, plotting out the absolute best skill tree for his next upgrade. The interface drops a 100-day survival challenge, teasing some shiny gold coins and VIP access to a secret shop. Further down, the window shows his next race evolution paths, tossing out epic classes like blacksmith or assassin. The green leader big brains it, wondering if the shaman and sniper builds work the exact same way they do for his clanmates. The master remembers he's been a melee main his whole life, so switching to a ranged build now would be a total throw. Slamming a knife into the table, he locks in the warrior class as the only valid strategy to wipe out those scumbags. A mental screenshot of the deleted captain flashes in his head, confirming the Holy Sword is the final boss of his revenge tour. Bursting with spite, he vows that even if his girl is still out there kicking, he's going to make every single one of them pay a massive toll for their crimes. The quiet gets shattered when the tiny archer bursts into the room screaming, hyping up some breaking news. Caught off guard by the chaotic entrance, the Green Master demands to know what all the hype is about. Bouncing off the walls, the girl points outside, swearing the main event is going down right on their doorstep. But the warrior squints, instantly realizing his sidekick is acting super sus. Red flags popping up everywhere. He says her name and softly asks what the heck is going on. Unable to hold back the drama, the sniper bursts into absolute waterfalls of tears and accuses her boss of being a massive liar. Turning her back while bawling, she screams that she hates her crush and threatens to rage quit the tribe on the spot. Completely lost in the sauce, the warrior grabs her arm, begging her to pause and just drop the breaking news first. Pointing furiously at the room next door, the girl demands to know why the so-called war trophy is snoozing in his bed. Backing the boss into a corner, she asks in total panic if they already did things behind her back. Totally heartbroken, the sniper wails, reminding him she's his main girl and he was supposed to romance her first. Freaking out, the tiny archer tackles the Green Master in a bear hug, squeezing him with everything she's got. She looks up with a totally tear-soaked face, still super triggered by the whole misunderstanding. The warrior lets out a heavy sigh and swears it's all just fake news, promising he hasn't done a single thing like that. Hearing his side of the story, the girl instantly hits the off switch on her crying and asks if he's actually being for real. Flashing a super confident smile, the boss confirms that, at the end of the day, he is totally her guy. Just like that, the girl's face lights up bright red with pure joy, thinking their special moment is finally happening. Trying to get the stream back on topic, the boss asks what the massive update was she came to drop. The sniper's eyes bug out as she suddenly remembers the actual incoming raid. Pointing outside again, she panics and announces the Ash Hunters squad is literally tracking him down. Confused by the edgy name, the MC asks who on earth she's even talking about. She yells the name again, claiming they're a ridiculously hardcore mercenary faction. The leader struggles to pronounce it and totally botches the name, making his sidekick frantically correct him. He pauses for a sec, buffering as he searches his memory banks for where he heard about these guys. Out of nowhere, the lore drop hits the warrior like a truck, leaving him absolutely speechless. Grabbing his partner by the shoulders, he desperately asks if she's 100% sure it's the Ash Hunters. Still shaking, the girl replies that this is exactly what she'd been trying to tell him the entire time. In that moment, the Green Master slowly lets go of his companion's shoulders. He bolts down the hallway in a dead sprint, super annoyed that he has to deal with this boss fight way too early. The camera pans to a creepy, dark cave where folks are sprinting for their lives, desperately trying to find the exit. One of the summoned kids is running out of breath, totally gassed from the insane chase sequence. Suddenly, a freakish mob spawns out of the shadows and swings a massive scythe right at him. A human bro dives in front and tanks the heavy hit using his own weapon. The clash pushes the monster back while the kid screams the name of the absolute legend who just saved him. Holding his block, the fighter yells at the kid to wake up and focus strictly on escaping. The summoned kid just freezes, still lagging as his brain tries to process the jump scare he barely survived. In a flash, a super, chilled magic attack blasts the creature and yeets it across the room. The kid looks back, completely blown away by the random assist. Pulling up in the tunnel, the bearded veteran flexes his credentials, introducing himself as the leader of the mercenary squad. Keeping things super casual, the older dude politely asks for the surviving kid's name. Slumped on the filthy floor, the kid takes a huge breath and drops a massive thank you for the clutch rescue. Catching his breath, he finally introduces himself as Kim Tae-sung. Cut back to the green hideout. The leader is booking it upstairs while the sniper tries her hardest to keep up. He mutters some curses, admitting he wanted to pull aggro, but never thought he'd summon these specific mercs. Hitting the brakes hard, he asks where the human squad was last spotted, making the girl stress out even more. Meanwhile, the veteran crew rolls up looking like total bosses at the entrance of a forest dungeon. Staring down a hostile banner, one squad mate talks trash about the scumbags who prey on the summoned kids. The master swordsman checks the vibes, making sure everyone is locked in on the mission objective. The team's archer recaps the game plan: clear the dungeon, rescue the NPCs, and farm intel on the Goblin boss. Happy with the ready check, the veteran pulls out his weapons and officially starts the raid. Near the cave entrance, a bunch of toxic bandits are just chilling around a janky campfire. Hearing footsteps splashing in the water, the criminals look up, totally shook by the merc squad pulling up on them. One of the goons jumps up raging, screaming to know who these brave intruders think they are. Keeping his customer service voice on, the old leader politely asks them to hand over the hostages without a fuss. But the bandits get insanely triggered by the audacity, hard passing on the peaceful option. One dude violently raises an axe and orders the whole squad to rush the intruders. The mob of bad guys charges in full aggro mode, screaming and flexing their weapons to try and look scary. The veteran lets out an exhausted sigh, realizing the speech check totally failed here. A bald criminal leads the charge, trash-talking that the mercs picked the absolute worst spawn point to invade. Faster than a blink, the swordsman swings his weapon and lands a brutal critical hit on the guy's arm. The wounded bandit shrieks at the top of his lungs, completely wrecked by the insane pain of the surprise slash. Giving them zero time to counter, the master dives into the mob, spamming perfectly aimed, lethal strikes. Moving like an absolute speed demon, the human boss kills multiple enemies in a single combo. Freaking out over the old man's crazy stats, the leftover goons scream for their archers to shoot him already. But before they can even aim, the bandit snipers get completely shut down by pinpoint arrows. The squad's archer lowers her bow with a cocky smirk, calling the criminals a bunch of noobs. Pure panic mode activates for the bandits, who start screaming for their mage to hurry up and carry them. Totally ignoring the chaos, the veteran keeps up his relentless combo, shredding anybody foolish enough to step up. His cuts are so insanely clean that he drops another enemy with zero wasted movement. Chilling in a pile of defeated mobs, the swordsman takes a breath and jokes that he must be getting rusty. Right then, a massive blast of freezing energy gets sneakily lobbed straight at the merc leader. The young archer spots the trap and screams in pure panic, begging her boss to dodge backwards right now. The spell slams into the ground with insane force, setting off a massive ice explosion exactly where he was standing. The impact kicks up a freezing smokescreen, literally shattering the stone floor from the crazy temperature drop. The squad groups up around the boss, as an arrogant voice demands to know who they think they are. The veteran warrior glares through the smoke, getting into his stance for the real boss fight. Clearing the mist, the enemy mage spawns in, hovering in the air while flexing a hardcore freezing aura. Dripping with arrogance, he calls the heroes absolute madmen for sticking their noses in his business. The mage keeps up his god-complex vibe, literally floating over the totally trashed battlefield. The team's youngest mage adjusts his glasses and claps back, declaring the villain is the one who lost his mind. With an ice-cold stare, the kid scans the opponent's mana levels. He acts super disappointed that someone with a rare magic build decided to throw it away playing with garbage criminals. Not even hiding his disgust, the kid roasts the sorcerer, straight up calling him a pathetic piece of trash. Getting hit with that insult makes the enemy mage crack a super creepy, twisted smile. Absolutely raging, the sorcerer screams that the kid asked for it and promises to delete him right on the spot. Charging up his ult, the villain spawns a massive ice spear ready to skewer the heroes, but the blue-haired kid just stands there in the middle of the arena, looking insanely confident. Caught totally off guard, the bald sorcerer is clueless as to why his spell just completely fizzled out. Taesung hijacks the enemy's frost energy, sarcastically asking if this was the spell he was trying to cast. Absolutely terrified, the villain backpedals, calling the kid an anti-mage and demanding to know how he hacked his move. Pointing a finger, the kid corrects the noob and reveals his actual class as a spell thief. With a snap of his fingers, he launches the ice spike and lands a direct hit on the bandit, instantly clutching the win. The force of the attack eats the dark mage into next week, permanently clearing the threat. Super smug about his own play, the kid casually blows on his fingers like a total boss. Right then, the bearded vet walks over, officially calling the zone clear of all hostiles. Annoyed by her teammates' flex, the tiny archer calls Tae-sung a massive idiot. She complains loud and clear that he was supposed to capture the guy alive for questioning, not just nuke him like that. Playing peacekeeper, the older leader tells them to drop the beef and put all their focus on guarding the NPCs. Following the boss's orders instantly, the kids agree and trail behind the master over the rocky terrain. Halfway there, the swordsman whispers for them to stay frosty, hearing folks making noise up ahead. Scoping everything out from the shadows of the woods, Gorls analyzes the humans' playstyle and admits they're actually solid folks. Out of nowhere, a high-pitched ping from the system jump scares the Green Master in his hiding spot. A glowing pop-up spawns in, alerting him that extremely high-level enemies just entered his aggro range. The window drops the exact stats of the merc squad that just rolled into the server. The generated quest demands the tribe wipe out those targets as fast as possible. Reading the objective, the green leader curses his terrible RNG, feeling the absolute weight of this garbage coincidence. He stays quiet for a sec, weighing his dialogue options. Stressed out of his mind, the boss squints as he makes a seriously tough call. Wasting zero time, he reaches out and taps right on the floating screen. A red warning flashes, saying that skipping this quest will nuke the clan's morale stat. Even knowing the massive debuffs, Gorls hits decline and decides to just tank the consequences. A spam of error messages starts dropping non-stop, showing huge XP losses and quest bans, making the warrior literally beg the system to shut up. Justifying his move, he tells himself those humans were the only ones who carried him back in the day without asking for loot. Driven by pure respect, the boss swears to dodge any kind of PvP with that squad at all costs. Meanwhile, a janky wooden sign marks the chill entrance to Pendleton Village. Sprinting like crazy through the wooden gates, a kid screams that the mercs are finally here. Riding tall on their horses, the heroes casually cruise down the dirt road, escorting the rescued NPCs. The village locals clap like crazy, hyping up the squad for catching a massive win on the mission. Whole families run up bawling, trapping their safely returned relatives in massive bear hugs. Watching all these wholesome reunions, the veteran leader feels a huge wave of relief that the quest is done. The village chief walks up bowing his head, flexing deep respect and dropping massive thanks for the carry. Catching feels, the old man complains that the local guards only ever steal insane taxes and never lift a finger to actually protect them. Handing over a heavy bag, he drops the agreed payment and apologizes for not having enough budget to tip them more. The veteran swordsman takes the cash humbly, swearing the payout is more than enough for the boys. Piggybacking on the chat, the leader casually asks if the chief heard any gossip about a goblin causing trouble in the zone. Confused why a pro cares about a trash-tier mob, the old man agrees to spill any tea he has on the subject. Miles away, Hyen is carefully inspecting the corners of a rocky storage room inside the green base. She walks super slow, checking out the rustic aesthetic with major curiosity. The human girl wanders around, trying to figure out the tribe's crazy inventory management system. A random noise grabs her attention, making her whip her head around in surprise. Right then, a tiny monster girl pops up out of nowhere, happily yelling for her mom. Sprinting like a total klutz, the little creature drops a bunch of purple fruits all over the stone floor. The human girl crouches down super chill and starts gathering up the dropped loot. Standing frozen nearby, the little monster just watches, feeling completely embarrassed. Reaching out, Hyen hands the fruit back and asks if the kid wants a bite. Nodding at the good vibes, the toddler takes the snack and turns to leave, absolutely glowing with joy. She squeezes the fruit tight, completely in love with the random gift she just scored. Going full wholesome mode, the goblin toddler jumps and hugs the girl's legs, pulling a surprised little squeak out of her. The kid stares up at the human with huge, sparkly eyes, radiating 0% toxicity. Melting over the cute move, the girl pats the kid's head and calls her a good girl. The cozy vibes are instantly ruined when a loud metallic sound pings right in the girl's head. A system menu pops up right in her face, dropping a tutorial quest to take out a monster in exchange for a rare skill. A sharp blade is chilling menacingly on the wall right next to her, putting the girl's morals to the ultimate test. Hard, rejecting the violence, she turns her back on the sword and hugs her knees, locking in her decision to not harm a single pixel of this squad. A starry night covers the peaceful forest, where the mercs set up their spawn point. Skewers of premium meat are slow, roasting next to a blazing fire, locking in the team's dinner. Next to the flames, the archer announces the food is ready, but the leader lets the rookies grab the first plates. Noticing the boss zoning out, she asks what's been eating at him since earlier today. Stroking his beard, the veteran admits there's something incredibly sus about the target they're tracking. He explains that every single attack this creature made strictly targeted summoned humans packing heavy gear. Wrapping up his theory, the old man points out the monster was smart enough to only take out NPCs that the locals wouldn't even miss. Hearing this breakdown leaves Tae, Sung totally shook, unable to compute that a mob could actually big brain things like that. The master warns that the plot is even thicker, throwing back to his chat with the village chief earlier. He drops the local lore, saying the specific target can supposedly run perfect human dialogue without any glitches. Thinking it's all just fake news, the girl laughs and calls her boss out for making up fanfiction. The chill convo gets totally interrupted by the sound of footsteps crunching dead leaves right nearby. A random voice echoes from the dark, directly calling out the merc squad by their clan name. Gorolz casually strolls out of the bushes, making his entrance with zero fear. Instantly switching to maximum try-hard mode, the human crew draws their weapons and locks into battle formation. Not even flinching at the pop-in, the veteran realizes the green boss has been heavily sniping their stats. Keeping his absolute chat energy, the monster decides to skip the tutorial and get straight to the point. The tension spikes instantly when Tiny Me fires off a crazy, fast warning shot to show she means business. The blue-haired mage hits a quick time event and catches the arrow mid-air with his bare hand, flexing his insane reflexes. Startled by the random trap, the squad flips into full paranoia mode, scanning the woods. Acting totally unbothered, the kid says he gets the message, but politely asks them to chill with the projectiles. Way off in the distance, Gorolz had already ordered his boys to set up a massive blockade around Pendleton village. Staring the humans down, the green boss promises his tribe knows exactly what to do with that village if he doesn't check in real soon. Tae Sung panics when he realizes the monster took the whole server hostage, while the sniper admits the old man was totally right. Super confused by the dialogue tree, the blue-haired kid demands to know the real reason for this trap. Gorolz points to himself, dripping with sarcasm, and asks if they actually thought he just came over to chat. But he promises he just wants them to hear him out, making the old swordsman take a seat and get ready for the cutscene. The merc boss agrees to listen, prompting the green warrior to demand they stop tracking his squad and completely wipe themselves off his map. Smiling politely, the old guy clarifies their quest is to hunt the monster hurting people, but offers a truce if the creature drops the aggro. Shutting that deal down instantly, Gorolz announces there are very specific humans who need to get deleted, and he's not logging off until it happens. The older merc reads the toxic vibes and notes that while the monster has huge brain power, his persuasion skill is absolute trash. Because of that, he sighs, realizing there's no way they're ever going to unlock the good ending here. Taking the mic back, The green boss drops a dark warning that he didn't come to make friends. He came to stop the heroes from getting a game over. He sets a hard timer of exactly 1 week for the human squad to completely evacuate the server. Giving them a death glare, the warrior makes it clear this is the absolute last time he's handing out a free pass. Meanwhile, back at the clan base, Hyen checks out the vibes looking super thoughtful and relaxed. A tiny goblin girl is snacking on a purple fruit right in front of her, just radiating pure, innocent cuteness on the dirt floor. Stressing over the glowing system notification, the human girl grips the hilt of a heavy sword, dealing with crazy anxiety. She squeezes the metal weapon tight, looking like she's trying to build up the guts to make a horrible play. But the little creature holds up the fruit, offering her a bite, heavily clashing with the toxic system prompt telling her to attack. A chill night hangs over the Merc's tiny base in the woods, totally removed from all the drama. Catching a weird vibe, the squad's archer whips her head around in panic, realizing their camp is being hard camped. Hiding in the shadows, masked assassins spot their targets and tell the squad not to ruin the faces of the bounties. One of the goons cracks a gross smile and suggests they wipe the guys first, saving the girl for later. Setting up the toxic gank, the bandit boss fixes his mask and gives the green light to start the raid. But he randomly pumps the brakes and tells everyone to hold up, noticing a totally glitchy spawn in the area. The assassin freezes, mind blown as he watches girls casually walking through the dark, totally clueless as to why a goblin is in this zone. Skipping back to the end of the peace talks, Girls repeats that he's only there to save the mercs from a totally pointless wipe. He double-clicks on the 1 week timer, dropping a massive load of pressure onto the bearded veteran. He adds one crucial detail, demanding they put up a white flag on day 5 to confirm they clicked accept on the terms of service. The vibe gets crazy tense when the warrior promises that if their hitboxes collide again, the PvP will be absolutely brutal. Sounding completely dead-ass, he tells the humans not to let this snowball into a massive disaster for both factions. The squad leader just watches the monster in nervous silence, processing the heavy lore drop he just received. Satisfied that the message got delivered, the green boss turns around and fades into the dark forest like an absolute ninja. Right then, one of the peeping assassins gets hit with a lightning-fast stealth takedown from behind, dropping instantly. The rest of the criminal squad is completely shook, wondering if the heroes just formed an alliance with a talking mob. Terrified of getting team wiped, the bandit boss instantly cancels the raid and orders a full retreat to the military base. Dead silence takes over the crossroads in the middle of the night right after the cowardly assassins hit the eject button. Back at the green hideout, the little monster girl keeps munching on her purple fruit, totally oblivious to any danger. Seeing this pure, wholesome moment completely melts Hyen's heart, hitting her with a massive wave of relief. The little girl keeps trying to share her food, reaching her arms out, which makes the human permanently cancel any thought of griefing her. Strutting proudly down the rocky halls, Gorls gets spammed with emotes from his boys praising him as the ultimate boss. The MC turns his head, a little sketched out when he hears some random chaos coming from the storage room. He slams the brakes at the entrance of the rustic room, getting hit with a massive jump scare by what's going on inside. Thinking the scene is super weird, the leader yells for Hyen and demands to know what on earth she's trying to pull. The human girl spins around flashing a friendly smile, holding a knife and a perfectly peeled fruit. Maxing out her cute stat, the little monster explains that the skins taste like trash, and the nice lady promised to peel them all off. The green leader literally sweats buckets at the scene, struggling to process how this girl got so comfy with the hostage life so fast. Switching to strict dad mode, he warns the captive not to get attached unless she plans on making this server her forever home. A bit flustered by the random scolding, the girl awkwardly chuckles and swears she was just prepping the snacks. The warrior hides his cringe by facepalming, while Hyen pats the kid's head and tells her to chew her food slowly. Way past the mountains, the sun rises, lighting up the massive training yard of the 13th Military Squad. Inside the tax collection office, a bunch of clerks are sweating over the spreadsheets scattered across their desks. A pen scribbles super fast, officially signing off on yet another financial report for the outpost. A desk jockey hands the final budget directly to the greedy new boss, Commander Kim Hanjeil. Flashing a totally evil grin, the corrupt officer orders them to pad the numbers so they can skim a fat chunk of change. Feeling gross about the scam, An older guard suggests they at least process the fair payout the Merc squad earned. With literally zero guilt, the new commander brags that he already dispatched pro-assassins to wipe the heroes off the map. He flexes a nasty smile, pointing out those mercs can only cash their check if they actually manage to survive. The loud bang of the wooden door slamming open instantly pauses their toxic scheming. A grunt rushes into the guard office, gasping for air as he reports that the hit squad just respawned back at base. The corrupt boss aggressively points his finger, demanding to know if they brought the loot so he can authorize the payout. Sweating nervously, the grunt admits the raid was an epic fail, but says the team brought back some insanely critical lore. Super tilted by the loss, Kim trashes the squad's skill issue and demands to know what could possibly be so important. 4 days fly by, and a sick orange sunset lights up the empty crossroads in the controlled zone. Chilling at base, the green boss notices he hasn't gotten any pings from the mercs and wonders if they accepted the friend request. Deciding to stop guessing, he figures he better go check if the white flag got planted at the drop point they agreed on. Next to him, the monster toddler calls Heian Big Sister in human language, making the girl completely lose her mind with joy. The hero announces he's going AFK for a bit and scolds the human, telling her to stop teaching the kid that language. Right then, Shorty Meave spawns out of nowhere running at max speed, completely out of stamina and sweating like crazy. The archer reaches out, screaming his name, and Hard stops right in front of him, trying to catch her breath. Looking curious and a little stressed, his partner demands to know where her man thinks he's going solo at this hour. Night drops completely over the forest, lit up by nothing but a crescent moon in a pitch black sky. Strolling casually through the trees, Goral spots something in the dark and recognizes a bright flag. Keeping a steady pace, the green boss breathes a sigh of relief that they actually planted the flag, meaning he can dodge a messy PvP fight. He walks up to the spear stuck in the dirt, with the white cloth waving in the wind, acting as the official peace treaty. But a tiny noise makes the leader instantly squint, realizing this lobby is way more toxic than it looks. A bunch of shadows holding weapons jump, scare him, boxing the MC right in the middle of the damp clearing. The guys start celebrating their insane RNG, completely hyped that they actually found the talking green beast. Absolutely annoyed by the random encounter, the master demands to know who these randoms even are. The human squad leader admits he's from the 13th unit and says bagging him alive is worth a massive pile of silver. Pulling back his bow, one of the dudes jokingly promises they'll only put a few holes in the creature's arms and legs. Skipping the cutscene, the team rushes in swinging, completely convinced that grouping up on a solo enemy is an easy dub. Hitting a stone-cold pose, the warrior draws his blade with lightning speed. The first guard lunges with a heavy spear, screaming for the monster to just take the L. With insane agility, Gorals just sidesteps and dodges the attack without breaking a sweat. Punishing the guy's totally garbage defense, the big monster spins around, charging up a lethal counter. The night drops completely over the forest, lit up by nothing but a crescent moon in a pitch black sky. Strolling casually through the trees, Gorals spots something in the dark and recognizes a bright flag. Keeping a steady pace, the green boss breathes a sigh of relief that they actually planted the flag, meaning he can dodge a messy PvP fight. He walks up to the spear stuck in the dirt with the white cloth waving in the wind, acting as the official peace treaty. But a tiny noise makes the leader instantly squint, realizing this lobby is way more toxic than it looks. A bunch of shadows holding weapons jump scare him, boxing the MC right in the middle of the damp clearing. The guys start celebrating their insane RNG, completely hyped that they actually found the talking green beast. Absolutely annoyed by the random encounter, the master demands to know who these randoms even are. The human squad leader admits he's from the 13th unit, and says bagging him alive is worth a massive pile of silver. Pulling back his bow, one of the dudes jokingly promises they'll only put a few holes in the creature's arms and legs. Skipping the cutscene, the team rushes in swinging, completely convinced that grouping up on a solo enemy is an easy dub. Hitting a stone-cold pose, the warrior draws his blade with lightning speed. The first guard lunges with a heavy spear, screaming for the monster to just take the L. With insane agility, Gorals just sidesteps and dodges the attack without breaking a sweat. Punishing the guy's totally garbage defense, the big monster spins around, charging up a lethal counter. Freaking out over his own HP, the dude turns and sprints into the woods, cursing the garbage trap he just walked into. Watching the guy cowered out, The warrior just lets out a tired sigh at how absolutely useless humans can be. He casually strolls over to the spear stuck in the grass, noticing the flag was legit according to the deal, but the guards were just sniping the location. The monster violently yanks the pole out of the ground, planning to log off and ditch this pointless side quest fast. Out of nowhere, the ground literally explodes next to him with insane force, completely blindsiding the green boss. In a split second, a glowing attack snipes him right in the chest, forcing him to violently cough. The pinpoint hit literally melts the side of his armor, proving it was a super high-tier magic attack. Unable to tank the massive damage, the leader gets knocked flat on his back into the dirt. Laid out in the mud, he grits his teeth, trying his hardest to push through the insane pain of the critical hit. Right in the middle of the dust cloud, the shadow of a sniper spawns in, charging up another ranged attack. The massive creature's eyes bug out as he tries to figure out who just clipped him with such crazy accuracy. The smoke clears, revealing the Merc Squad's sniper, who bitterly spits that this is how things should have gone from day one. Totally confused by the pure aggro, Gorls stares at the arrow stuck in his hitbox, completely lost as to why they ganked him when they were the ones who put up the flag. The human girl steps up, drawing her bowstring again, and claims that if they had just pulled this move earlier, they would have skipped a ton of drama. Ignoring his dropping HP, the leader uses his sword as a crutch to get back up and return fire. The MC's hand grips his weapon with pure rage, getting ready to absolutely throw down. But a crazy fast blur flying out of the dark catches his eye and leaves him completely stunned. Shorty Meave does a sick backflip through the air and snipes an arrow straight at the mercs. Jump scared by the random third party, the human girl frantically backpedals to dodge the lethal shot. The green sidekick sticks a perfect superhero landing right in front of the MC, who whispers her name like he's watching a movie. Glancing over her shoulder, the tiny sniper confidently announces she pulled up specifically to protect her man. Giving the enemies an absolute death stare, Meave screams she won't let a single player lay a finger on her crush. The vibe in the dark woods maxes out on the tension scale now that the Green Clan reinforcements have joined the server. Suddenly, the blue-haired mage gets tossed onto the dirt nearby, tumbling like an absolute noob. The kid looks up super confused, realizing they just got perfectly boxed in by the mobs without even noticing. Keeping her crosshairs glued to the humans, the tiny goblin screams in her native tongue, promising to defend her boss no matter what it takes. The human merc watches her rival's pure rage with a serious glare, totally reading the threat even without subtitles. The timeline rewinds 2 days before this intense showdown, zooming in on a massive stone guard building. Inside the locked room, a pair of rough hands cuffed with heavy iron chains are resting on a wooden desk. The young sniper and the blue mage are sitting across from a totally corrupt officer, who's running this super sketchy interrogation. The guard sergeant acts like an absolute troll, greeting the Merc Squad with maximum arrogance. Keeping his toxic energy up, the snobby dude asks if he should start calling them the traitor squad now. Super triggered by the random roast, the girl snaps back, saying she has no clue where he pulled that garbage fanfiction from to treat them like this. She cranks up the volume, furiously swearing that the hero squad has never done any kind of shady backdoor deals with monsters. The guard just laughs at her rage, casually dropping that their veteran leader told a completely different story. A brutal flashback hits, showing the old man taking all the aggro, getting heavily punished and chained to the dungeon wall, just to spare the rookies from the hardcore torture. Realizing the massive carry her boss pulled for them, the girl grinds her teeth, getting hit with a huge wave of pain and pure rage. Spinning a tiny key on his finger like a total show-off, the captain announces he only came down to unlock them and let them walk. The chunky metal locks click open, freeing the hero's hands from the freezing iron cuffs. The blue-haired kid claps his hands in relief, but immediately demands to know what's going to happen to their favorite leader. With zero chill, the guard holds up an official document, explaining that it's the final report getting sent to the higher-ups, listing the old man's fake crimes. He reads off the totally bogus charges of teaming up with the Green faction that raided the fort and deleted the old captain. Overwhelmed by the absolute injustice of this frame job, the girl violently slams her fist on the rustic desk. She screams that this is exactly why she busted her chops trying to explain their innocence from the start, while her partner desperately tries to mute her. Completely brushing off her stress, The sergeant maxes out his villain energy and tells her to chill, warning she needs to sit through the rest of his dirty pitch. The military guy casually tosses the papers onto the desk, smirking as he mentions that the report hasn't actually been sent yet. The girl and her partner keep spamming their innocence, struggling to deal with the insane pressure of this fake ban wave. Flashing a smug grin, the officer bluntly asks what they're going to do to carry their leader now. Still rocking his troll attitude, he stresses that they need to drop a piece of undeniable evidence if they want to flip the script and clear the squad's name. The guy demands hard proof that the hero crew absolutely did not form any toxic alliance with the creatures. Dripping with bad intentions, the guard suggests that bringing back the green monster's head would be totally enough to clear the ban. The sniper thinks over the deal and asks if the old man would actually get released if they managed to clear the quest. Confirming the terms, the sergeant mockingly warns that he's not giving them an extended timer to pull this off. Snapping back to the present in the woods, the archer draws her bow, asking if the tiny green girl is just the warrior's side piece. Totally consumed by rage, she fires a flaming arrow, swearing to delete the enemy boss first. Little Meave dodges super fast, feeling the intense heat of the projectile whiz right past her hitbox. Using the dodge as a setup, the little monster jumps with crazy skill and unleashes a rapid, fire volley of arrows straight at her rival. The human furiously backpedals to block the combo, realizing the little girl's attack speed is way higher than hers. Pinned against a tree trunk, the human breathes heavy, trying to download the crazy fast pace of this PvP. The blue mage spots the danger and screams for his teammate to watch out, warning that the green monster totally brought backup. Flexing massive confidence, the tiny goblin tells her leader not to stress about this quick skirmish. The kid's eyes bug out when he hears a war horn blow in the distance, realizing the girl had already spammed the call for backup earlier. Right then, a clan member pops up, raising his weapon and screaming the tribe's name with max volume. The green army rushes through the dense woods in full aggro mode, chanting for their leader as they close the net. The mob of creatures locks down the zone insanely fast, totally flipping the map and applying insane pressure on the ambush. Hidden in cover, the girl curses the massive shift in the meta, wondering if they're actually trying to settle the score right here. Suddenly, tiny magic orbs start spawning in the air right next to where the merc was camping. The dark spheres get launched straight at the girl's spot, forcing her to abandon her cover instantly. Hitting a split-second survival quick-time event, she ducks to dodge a direct hit from the surprise magic attack. At that exact second, one of the masked bandits jumps out of stealth holding his weapon, diving straight at the young woman. A whole squad of assassins decloaks from the trees and launches a full frontal assault against the goblins. The young mage grabs his partner's arm, yelling that this is the absolute perfect window for them to pop smoke and log out. Super triggered, the archer demands the boy let her go, swearing they have to capture the monster to unban their master, but her teammate pulls her even harder, arguing that if they both get wiped right here, the old man is permanently soft-locked. Totally persuaded by that flawless logic, the girl backs off, and they both sprint away at max speed through the dark forest. Watching the enemy players run away, the tribe members raise their weapons and spam emotes to celebrate the green squad's massive win. The tiny archer holds up her injured boss, begging him not to disconnect while they carry him back to base. The scene cuts to the epic stone fortress of the clan, wrapped up in the super quiet midnight vibes. The sound of metal tweezers dropping a bloody piece of trash onto a plate echoes through the simple room. The little girl wrings her hands, crying an ocean as she asks if her man is handling the healing process okay. The green boss is sweating bullets and admits the debuff is so insane he feels like his HP is about to hit zero. Laid out on the rocky floor, the warrior fights to tank the damage while his partner promises she brought a health potion. He thinks back super bitterly about the merc squad, feeling massive tilt for letting the whole situation snowball this hard. The hero instantly regrets his misplay, confessing his only real goal was to let those human players just live their lives on the server. Right then, the little girl steps up offering a cup, hyping it up as a special custom potion brewed by the old shaman. The monster stares at the dark liquid-looking super sus, and instantly realizes it literally just looks like straight whiskey. Completely ignoring the red flags, he chugs the whole thing, praying the consumable will at least buff his pain tolerance. The drink burns like fire going down, and he ends up spitting some of it out, coughing violently from the hardcore taste of the bootleg brew. The archer lets out a nervous laugh, confessing she couldn't find the right vial, so she just dumped the meds into a whiskey bottle. Catching on to the goofy blunder, the boss downs the rest of the drink like a champ, swearing he's going to totally crush the trolls who set him up. The little goblin cheers her boss on to push through the healing phase, acting super stressed about her man recovering his HP. A super old flashback crosses the boss's mind, thinking back to a time when humans healed up one of his downed teammates. Back in those rough days, the old merc refused to take any gold for it, asking only that they pass the good karma on to someone else. The kid who got revived was beyond thankful, swearing he would never forget the massive carry he just got. Flashing a wholesome smile, the veteran explained that everyone is required to revive each other when the survival run gets tough. Cutting back to the stone room, the green hero takes a massive breath and suddenly snaps his eyes wide open. The girl notices her partner rebooting and excitedly asks if the master has finally snapped out of his stun. He touches the bandages on his stomach, admitting that the old shaman's weird recipe actually gave him a huge buff. The leader slowly stands up and tells his sidekick to come closer, going into full protector mode after that massive jump scare. Pulling a super sweet move, he pulls the little girl in close and promises that he's going to absolutely guard her from now on. Not entirely processing the vibe shift, she stammers his name, a little confused by how incredibly chill he's acting. The hero gently pats his partner's head, locking in a super deep, emotional cutscene between them. The sniper's cheeks turn bright red as she stutters, asking what triggered all this random affection. The master just pulls the girl even closer with a smooth move, instantly muting all the flustered questions from his #1 fan. The room temperature skyrockets as the heavy leather armor finally starts getting unequipped, piece by piece. The tiny goblin is breathing heavy, completely surrendering to the romance she's been waiting to unlock with the overpowered warrior. The green boss takes the lead while the girl whispers his name, fully soaking in the hype of the moment. The gear drops to the dirt floor, finally confirming the ultimate ship between the two fighters. Chilling with all her focus on her partner, the sidekick zeroes in on her man, realizing just how epic this midnight solo session is. The leader drops a knowing smile, promising to take things super easy since this is her first playthrough. The archer locks eyes with him, establishing a massive connection, totally ready to let her emotions take the wheel. He takes charge of the scene, showing off the massive soft spot he has for the partner who always stuck in his lobby. The girl eagerly leans into the physical touch, making it crystal clear how much this romance matters to her playthrough. Putting 100% of his focus on his partner, the master flexes a gentle side that completely masks his usually toxic playstyle. With her face blushing bright red from embarrassment, she reaches out, asking him to wrap her in a huge hug. They squeeze each other tight, officially locking in their duo status in the dead of night, hidden away from any enemy players. But the leader's face instantly hardens when he remembers he still has some absolute blood feuds to settle in the open world. The camera does a fast transition to the bright sun popping up over the mountains, marking the spawn of a brand new day. Wandering lost in the dense woods, an exhausted, hooded dude is sprinting in pure panic, cursing his garbage luck as he realizes he's completely stranded solo. Before he can find a fast travel point to escape, he gets scared and tackled by a goblin guard who heavily judges the intruder's cowardly vibe. The assassin scrambles away in terror, furiously realizing that Captain Kim Hangil gave them totally glitched intel. He rages at the fact that this quest was nowhere near a simple farming run. His escape is instantly cancelled when the intruder takes a massive surprise critical hit to the dome, making him scream in pain. Thanks to the heavy knockback, the guy gets floored in the bushes, groaning as he tanks the massive damage of the hit. Still pretty stunned on the dirt floor, the human's eyes bug out and he holds his breath, getting massively scared by what he sees. Right then, the clan guards stare down the defeated human, remembering that the ultimate boss Gorals already dropped a warning about a straggler from the midnight raid, pressing a weapon right up to the terrified prisoner's face. One of the guards confirms this is definitely the bounty target and orders him to be tied up, flexing maximum boss energy over the wrecked bandit. The little monster announces they're taking the package straight to the leader so he can permanently resolve the glitch.